To the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, could we have a sunshine announcement, please, Cam?
Yes, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, in the year 2024. This is a Jersey City Planning Board meeting with a scheduled 5:30 p.m. start time. And in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, notice of this meeting has been given to the editor of the Jersey Journal, the Jersey City Reporter, and posted with the city clerk on October 4th of this year. This meeting was also posted on the Jersey City Division of City Planning webpage, and all distribution materials made available to the board were published and made available to the public.
Okay, thanks, Cam. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman Langston,
Here.
Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Stamato, Commissioner Cruz, Commissioner Green.
Here.
All right, we have 5 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Okay, could we swear in the staff, please, Mike?
I see Matt, Jennifer, Sophia, and Cameron. Do you guys want anything tomorrow? You get tonight's gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have correspondence, Cam?
Yes, Chairman. Okay, so under new business, we have item 14. That is case number P2024-0123 for a preliminary and final major site plan with C variances at address 457 Ogden Avenue, requesting to carry with preservation of notice to the October 22nd meeting. That is our next regularly scheduled meeting. And then in addition to that, we have the very last item on the agenda under new business, item 20, and that is case P22-061. It's for a preliminary and final major site plan. Address is 88 Bright Street, and they've requested to carry with preservation of notice to the November 12th meeting of this year. And,
November 12th.
and yes, that
Okay.
would conclude correspondence.
Okay, so if anybody from the public is here for either 457 Ogden Ave or 88 Bright Street, they will not be heard tonight. They'll be heard on those 2 dates listed. You will not get new notice. This is your notice. So with that, let's get into old business, everybody. We'll call item A under old business. It's case P2024-0164 is a site plan extension for 54 Jones Street.
Good evening.
Good evening,
For the
Counsel.
record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. We did provide public notices with regard to this request, so I'll provide these to council.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of notice, proof of mailing with respect to the application here this evening. It does appear to be in order. We can mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Thank you, Counsel.
Okay, thank you. So before you tonight, we're asking for a 2-year extension of the prior approval. But the 2-year extension is really a 1-year extension, and I'll explain why. Is that the third year would have expired on September 21st, 2024. So obviously we're past that date. So we are asking for the 2 years to bring us to September 21st, 2025. And the background and the reasoning behind this is that the prior owner and designated redeveloper by the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency had permitting in place with the building department in early of 2023 or mid 2023. They sold the property to my client. So we went through the process with the JCRA in the fall, September through December of this past year. And it was ultimately transferred with the consent of the JCRA to my client. And with those permits in place, but they were never finalized. And then there's a snafu where the permit applications were misplaced in the building department. So nothing was vested, if you will. But similarly, at that time, my client entered into a redevelopment agreement with the JCRA, And part of that redevelopment agreement provided that they would develop the project that was transferred, or a Plan B. A Plan B being envisioned that the Journal Square redevelopment plan might be amended. And as this board knows, it was recently amended. So we're now working on a new plan, and hopefully be back before this board, within 6 months. But at the same time, we want to preserve this approval.
Okay, any questions, anyone? And obviously, council, any variances, deviations, anything of the sort would be, and conditions would be applied to this project as well,
Yes.
for this approval. Okay, thank you. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment? Anyone from the public? We have a motion to close public?
Seeing no public, I make a motion to close the public.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public. Public is closed. Matt, anything? Any concerns?
No, this is a situation we often see. Designation takes a while, and staff recommends approval with conditions related to carrying over all previous conditions on the original site plan resolution.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll entertain a motion. Motion, anyone?
Make a motion to accept P2024 54 Johnson Avenue, Jones Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded for approval.
Right. Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky. Oh, Stamato. Oh my.
I look like
goodness.
Lipsky.
My apologies.
Yes.
Commissioner Stamato, Commissioner Cruz. Aye. Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye,
Lipsky.
Motion carries all in favor.
thank you. All right, let's call case P23-083. It's a preliminary and final major subdivision with variances for 206 Van Voorst Street. And at the same time, call case P23-084 is a preliminary and final major site plan with variances for 206 Van Voorst Street. Council, before we start, Commissioner Stamato, you weren't at the last meeting where we discussed this. Did you have a chance to read the transcript?
Somewhat, not entirely.
Santo?
Commissioner, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to read the entirety of the transcript in order to vote. That's going to cause a quorum issue.
Apologize, council. Commissioner Cruz, did you read the transcript as well? Okay. All right, so we will have to carry this matter.
Is it, do we have a physical transcript to review at a break?
I do have one printed. If we want, Commissioner Stamato, if you want to read it during a break, we could potentially adjourn the matter till later tonight.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so let's move on to new business, the review and discussion of certified artist Deborah Jack and Dan Kwong Shirley Fan. Formal action may be taken. Cam?
Okay, good evening, board. So as usual, these artists meet the criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the Artist Certification Board has recommended them to us to approve for the artist certified housing, and planning staff recommends approval.
Okay. Thank you, Cam. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment? Anyone from the public?
Seeing no one for public, I make a motion to close the partial reader.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. We have Cameron's recommendation, so I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to artist review as approved and presented to the board tonight.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
All right, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor.
All right, thank you. Kim, do we have a, do you hear a ring?
Yeah, this might be
Okay, so let's move on to item 10 is case P2024-0091 is an interim use approval. The address being, no address, Liberty Harbor Holding LLC. Block number is 15801, lot 28.
Good evening.
Good evening, Counsel.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, council. I think the address is actually listed as Morris Canal for this project.
Okay.
This is James McCann from the law firm of Connell Foley in Jersey City. On behalf of the applicant, this is an interim use application, and we did provide notice to the public, and I do have my hard copy here for council. May I approach?
Please. Thank you.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to block 15801, lot 28. It does appear to be in order. It does appear to be the same notice that I reviewed electronically. Purposes of record, we can mark it as A1.
Thank you, Counsel.
So while my witness sets up, this is an interim use application. The property is located in the Liberty Harbor North redevelopment plan. This is an interim use application for a mobile concrete batching plant. And the relief requested specifically is the redevelopment plan permits an interim use for a period of 3 years. The relief requested here is that if there's an approval, that it be for a 3-year term and that it start 150 days from the date of the adoption of a resolution. That way, nobody has to know when the plan opened. You give them 150 days to open it, and then that's when it starts. If that's acceptable, that's the relief that we're going to ask for. I think we did that on a previous one. It avoided the whole when does the plant start and when does it close issue. So I thought that was the best way to handle this.
So, Counsel, that's the question here. When does the plant start? Does it have to start on a date?
Well, I guess by giving them a 150-day build-out period, it doesn't matter when it starts. If they don't build it out by then, the 3-year period starts ticking. If they do build it out before then, I guess they get a little bit more time. But
So they're allowed to operate during that 150 days?
that would be my thought. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my first witness is Mr. Sean Savage. He's testified before this board numerous times.
Mr. Savage, good evening. We've qualified you in the past. Your
Yes.
license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Mr. Savage, you. Oh, sorry.
Swearing testimony you give and you've given tonight has been the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth.
I do.
And if you could just state, spell your name.
Sean Savage, Savage. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, SAN.
So, Mr. Savage, you've reviewed the Liberty Harbor North redevelopment plan,
I have.
and you've prepared the plans that we have filed with the planning board tonight that we're asking them to consider approval of.
I have.
And in your review of the redevelopment plan, we determined that interim uses are permitted, correct?
Correct.
And we also determined that there are no bulk requirements for an interim use, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So can you put your plans up on the screen for us?
That is the question.
And council and commissioners, for the record, Mr. Savage is going to testify from his actual filed plans. So I'm not going to admit them as an exhibit because they are posted on the planning portal tonight.
Do not, oh, why does it pop up there? Where does that fall on my, there we go. God damn it. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't know why it doesn't show. I'm not sure why it doesn't show up there.
It's on your screen now.
Yeah, yeah.
Just drag it to the side. Drag the whole window. Further right.
Jesus.
May we go off the record for a moment and get some technical support?
Yeah, give me a second here.
No, I'm going to ask Michael or want somebody on the staff to.
I just can't get it to go over the side.
Oh, I lost it. There you go.
It was very hard. Yeah, but now how do you even then?
So now Mr. Savage can't see it on his computer.
Yeah, now I won't be able to. Well, whatever. All right. So we're here for the interim concrete batch plant, as mentioned. This property here. What I'm referring to now is the title sheet of the set that was submitted to the city. So the property here is block 15801, lot 28, which is a portion of the Liberty Harbor North tract. Lot 28 is approximately 3.1 acres. The area on that lot, which is going to be this concrete batch plant, is about 0.9 acres, a little under an acre. And so as you can see on the title sheet here, this site for the concrete batch plant, sort of in the middle of the Liberty Harbor North. And let me try to get to the site plan.
Before you do that, Mr. Savage, about how far is the nearest residential development to this site where the concrete batching plant will be?
So the nearest building is off to the east, a little bit to the northeast there at the corner of South Cove and St. Peter's Place. That is about 450 feet. The next nearest would be straight north across the light rail line, and we're about 650 feet from that location.
Thank you. Get us to the next slide. You're trying.
Trying.
Okay.
I don't get this.
Do you want me to try to put everything on one screen for you?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can't see where to move anything because it's not on my screen.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to be moving to what'll be sheet 4 of the set, and this is the site plan for the site. So
Just one quick thing. What is the site currently used for?
the site is currently a parking lot. It's various different parking areas. There's some vehicle storage. This site in particular is largely paved. There is a small section of compacted gravel as well.
When you say this section in particular, you mean
This
where
section,
the plant is going to be
correct,
located? is
the
paved?
0.9 acres where the plant is going to be. And in this picture, this site plan, you can see some of the striping of the existing
Parking spaces.
the existing parking spaces beneath this, so it kind of helps get a sense of it. Whoops.
So, Mr. Savage, all the improvements that are shown on this site plan are temporary improvements, correct? There's nothing that is going to be actually constructed. It's all just equipment that is going to be placed on the site.
Correct. So a lot of these you'll see here labeled a utility container. There's an aggregate hopper. These are all movable. The same with the silos. These will be, there'll have to be some small footings for some of the equipment to be placed, but all of the equipment is movable that is being proposed on this site. And if I can just step back and go for in terms of site access, run through that. So. Sure. The site access for this will be off of the Jersey Avenue entrance, the existing entrance on Jersey Avenue. The vehicles will cross over there's already an existing paved drive aisle through the site from Jersey Ave into this parking area. The trucks will utilize that for two-way traffic. They'll circulate around this site coming in the gate here. Up here, there's a gate on the let's call it the northwest side, and the vehicles will be able to enter in and then, get loaded up or drop off materials and then exit the site through one of the gates on the south side and then traverse out again through Jersey Avenue, be able to go either north or south on Jersey Avenue.
And you have a truck turning or a truck access plan?
Yes.
Do you know?
Oops. That actually is.
Okay.
All right. So.
What sheet is that?
This is a one of one. This is a plan entitled the truck turning exhibit, and so this reflects the truck coming in or out of the site on Jersey Avenue, and then traversing to the site, circulating through the actual site where the batch plant is, and then it'll be able to leave the site the same direction. And it also indicates the bottom part of the plan shows a detail of a typical concrete plant truck.
And so, commissioners, there's one caveat to this. We received comments from traffic engineering, and one of the things that they asked is, so as you know, the property owner here and the applicant is a developer, and it's the designated developer for the Liberty Harbor North redevelopment area. It's LHH. So they're developing two sites that have been approved by this board. We commonly refer to them as Block 5.1 in the redevelopment plan and 5.5 in the redevelopment plan. So what the applicant has agreed to stipulate to is when concrete is being delivered to those sites, they won't go on Jersey Avenue. They will go straight north because the applicant owns all that property, cross the light rail, come out on Regent Street, and go right to those two sites. So that'll alleviate some of the traffic going on to Jersey Avenue, and those two development sites are imminent. They probably will both start construction within the next year or sooner. So the plant will service any sites in Jersey City that require, that ask and require concrete, and also the Jersey City vicinity. So if there are projects outside the city of Jersey City, it would serve those too. As you may know, in order to get concrete to a site, they have to get it there pretty quick. Once it leaves the plant, it has to be there like within an hour and a half, so, or sooner. So it wouldn't be too far out of the city. But the hope is that you'll approve it and allow them to be in Jersey City and the nearby vicinity of Jersey City.
Council, I'm a little confused now. Where are they going to cross the light rail tracks if they head north? They're not on Jersey.
They'd be able to cross at the Liberty View Drive crossing is operational now.
But this is on the
South side.
south side of the
There is a
tracks.
connection there already. It's now opened.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was installed. I'm not sure exactly how long ago it was installed, but it's been installed. It's, you know, the signals and striping and all that stuff is there at the crossing.
okay, I guess I need to get out more.
And the trucks from here would traverse over, there's additional existing parking areas that it'll be able to drive up and get to that crossing.
Okay.
Mr. Ward's shaking his head up and down, so I'm going
Yeah.
to take it as we're right.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Savage. Anything else?
Okay, so, you know, back onto the site layout plan or the site plan here. So in terms of the equipment that we kind of went through, the conveyors, the silos for the materials, there's also going to be, on the north side of the site, there's going to be an aggregate storage area. This will have like masonry walls on it. The concrete plant operators here, he'll discuss the heights of those and such, but it's anticipated that those will have some sort of a cover on them in order to keep dust or to control dust. We are also proposing a number of lights. 3 of them are going to be mounted onto the equipment, like the silos or the conveyors, and 1 of them is going to be pole mounted on the site. The site will be fenced in. We have a 6-foot chain link fence. And then on the north and east sides, we're proposing some evergreen shrub plantings to dress it up a little bit. With respect to stormwater, you know, we're not changing the ground cover here in terms of the amount of impervious coverage, and the existing parking area that's out there. We're not changing the grades of this area, this existing area. So all that water would still run off. The runoff would still run off in the same direction, which is sort of to the south. And there's existing inlets in those parking areas that it'll collect this this runoff from this temporary use. There will also be some reuse of the actual process water. Will be there's a component of that's going to be reused, and again the plant operator will discuss that in more detail. In terms of utilities, we're going to be proposing electrical, which will go to the utility container, which is in the middle of the site, as you can see on this exhibit. There's going to be a portion that will be overhead up to a new utility line, a utility pole, and then it'll go overhead to connect to an existing pole that's out near the intersection of St. Peter's and South Cove. And we're also going to be proposing a gas line that'll run out towards the end of Marin Street to connect to gas eventually. That'll be utilized for heating the water that's used in the operation of the plant when they need it. There's no proposal for a sanitary sewer connection, and then there'll be a well that is proposed at this time to be utilized for the water supply.
Mr. Savage, the concrete delivery trucks will be parked on site when they're not in use?
My understanding, I think that might go more to sort of the how it's going to operate, which I think Joe, when he comes up, can talk to that. But my understanding is they would be parked on the site when not in use.
They will. Any employee parking will also be parked either on the site, or since the whole site around it is already a parking lot, they will utilize the existing parking lot.
I have a question. On the dust control, I'm interested, I'm looking at your site plan, and you have some type of a device for dust control. Can you explain that? Or we're going to wait for Joe?
I think it'd be with the operator would
Okay.
explain how they're going to deal with dust control.
The silos are basically for for actually the concrete,
The different aggregates, the
Okay.
concrete, yeah, those the materials.
Mr. Savage, the well for the water supply, obviously that's not a traditional well. Is it it's just an above-ground tank, I assume?
We at this stage, we haven't designed what that's going to be. So at this point, I don't know the specifics of that. I'm not anticipating that it's going to be like an above-ground storage tank that's going to be utilized for it. But I'm not sure. That might be something that the operator can also kind of weigh in on.
Okay. But there's no water lines being brought in?
Yeah, there's no water line there. We could, if it had to be that the well couldn't work, we could, run an extension out and obviously get city approval and MUA approval for that. That is an option. There is water out in, South Cove and Marin and all those other streets. So that is an option if it proves that the well is not viable in that sense.
Okay. Hours of operation, is that?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Sophia, do we know what the noise ordinance says about starting at 6 a.m.?
I'm not aware of what the noise ordinance would say.
Okay. I know that construction can start at 6 a.m.
I was just informed it would be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes.
That's the noise ordinance?
That's what I remember, yeah.
Is it?
So I'll amend my answer, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, and that's a hard 7, council. We'll have public comment, Ms. Case, in a few minutes. Don't worry. You're reading my mind, though.
So I'll make it
that-
easy. If Saturday's a problem, I think, can it be Monday? Can it be Monday through Friday? Yes, we'll stipulate to Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Savage.
All right. Okay.
So I do have a representative of the plant operator. If there are more questions for him, I'm happy to bring him up. Yes.
Please.
Okay. Joe.
Good evening.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
For the record, just state your spelling name.
Joseph, Joseph. The last name is Vigiano, Viggiano. You're welcome.
I'm sorry, what was the last name again, sir?
Vigiano.
Vigiano. Mr. Vigiano, if you could, please just give us your background.
Sure.
so
I've
we
been
can
in
qualify.
the ready-mix industry in operations for about 17 years. I currently am the operations manager for Tanis Concrete, and I'm here to answer any questions you have about the concrete plant.
Okay, so.
Tanis Concrete is the proposed operator of the site.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so this is, we set precedent last meeting. We're now qualifying anyone with experience in their field as an expert, regardless of a degree or not. So you're qualified, sir.
Thank you.
Could you give us some detail on the actual
that?
operation of the plant?
Sure.
Material coming in, how are you going to mix the concrete?
Yeah, absolutely. So this would be a dry batch plant. Trucks would come in with coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, sand and stone, and other trucks would come in with cement. The cement would be delivered into the silos, the coarse aggregate and the fine aggregate into bin block bins, dry stack bins that aren't permanent. They would get loaded into the plant via hoppers and belts into a weigh scale, and then from that weigh scale it goes directly into the truck, and basically a closed loop. There is a dust reclaimer that is right at the batching point where the plant would discharge into the truck, reclaims all the dust, catches it into a vessel, which we then reuse. Any runoff water is again collected with whatever is existing at the site, and then we also reuse that in our concrete. We try to use a closed loop system as much as possible. When so there are bulker trucks that have pneumatic pumps on them. Yep, you connect them with hoses, and away you go.
That's pretty well closed, no dust,
No dust from that, no sir. Yeah, we have internal haulers that we run ourselves, so the controls on that are pretty stringent. And we only use one other outside hauler who is best in business, so
You're not doing any concrete crushing, anything like that?
no sir, no. Any return concrete,
Well, I hate to use the word brand new material, but basically selected material
correct,
for this purpose.
yes.
Mr. Vigiano, if we could talk about the queuing of trucks, where is that going to happen?
That would happen on site, not on the street, yeah. Ideally, I believe it's a pull-through plant, so we would wrap around, pull through, and then pull back out, and then what's the same direction, so sometimes that changes where you have to back into the plant, but everything would still happen on site, nothing off site.
Okay, and number of trucks that you anticipate queuing up?
I think 8 is
Okay.
a safe number for that
Okay.
property.
Understood.
Yeah, so we would have 8 trucks. Ideally, if we're running our business correctly, we'd get 4 loads for a truck. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the capacity of the plant?
Production-wise? Oh, it depends. The silo capacities are usually somewhere around 5 loads, and they're about 25 tons a load. And then the aggregates, if it's 12 high, and probably about 25 loads, something like that on the ground.
If there was a problem with dust, how would you fix it?
Sure. So we actually, we're going to park a sweeper and a water mitigation truck there. We have one already on staff that we park at a different plant, and we rotate them around. For this particular area, we would station one there. He would run that plant all day long, keep dust down. Any concerns with dust for fine and coarse aggregates, we're going to cap the bins, the aggregate bins, so wind shouldn't be an answer in that, shouldn't be an issue in that scenario. And then the third prong of that is the dust reclaimer during production. That's a high velocity, high capacity reclaimer, and it takes as much as humanly possible and puts it right back into a sealed bin for reuse or disposal.
I think my concern would be any type of dust coming off that area. Would you be willing to look at a possibility of using the large size misters?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
This way you ensure that nothing can off the property.
Yeah, so
That's our concern.
the sweeper,
I
we,
know you're 450 feet away from residents or what have you.
yeah, of course.
But my concern would be people walking by, going to the park, doing whatever, just as a precautionary type of scenario.
Sure, so the sweepers that we have actually have a water disbursement feature on them as well that we use. Street sweepers. Yeah, they have a bar attachment, for lack of a better term, that basically has pinholes. So you divert whatever water, clean water you put in, and you could actually drive up and down the yard and mist and keep dust control down.
That area, but my concern is like between the conveyors, between the silos, anything that would blow off the property.
Sure.
That's where I would be concerned as far as having some type of, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm talking about, it's like a combination fan type of mister.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really,
So, counsel, it sounds like your client agreed to that as a condition. They're going to agree to that as a condition.
It's absolutely something we could look at. The only other place that might have dust to come off it, as you stated, was be the telebelt that feeds the plant. Those traditionally, we build a corrugated steel cover over to eliminate dust. The misters are good. They can mess with the concrete quality a little bit, and they also create more runoff. So that's why we like that closed system a little bit better. It contains it all. It goes from the inception of the belt at the hopper all the way into the plant.
So, Commissioner, I think we should have the closed system, and then
yeah, that's right. I mean, if we have a problem.
if we have a problem, then the misters.
Again, my concern would be, you know, that immediate area, something coming off,
Absolutely.
being familiar with that type of operation.
Right. Do you agree or have a concern with the misters and the quality of the,
So I'm fine with it.
but he was concerned about the quality of the concrete as a result.
Because I would have it blowing into the yard area, not where he's doing his mix.
Oh, I understand. So almost around the perimeter.
That's
Yeah.
my concern
Yeah.
is the perimeter.
If dust were to be an issue, that wouldn't be something that would be insurmountable. That should be a relatively easy fix.
Council, I think it's going to be a condition. I think the way the motion's going to be made possibly is going to be that the misters are a condition on the perimeter.
So, Mr. Vigiano, is that when the council says condition, that's going to be a requirement for you to operate the plant? Is that something you can do?
I have concerns at winter. They will freeze. They'll absolutely freeze. I've had other systems similar that we basically turned off from January to March because you just cannot keep them running. I would probably defer back to ownership to that's an unplanned expense that, I haven't been approved to make. Would I tell you that it's an impossibility to do? No, but I would tell you there's a point in the year where they're going to be non-operational no matter what we do.
So can I ask you another question? Let's go back to the plan that you have that you described has a system. Do you believe the system that you're already putting in place will avoid dust being?
The three-phase system that I outlined, I think, is more than any concrete company does, and I think it eliminates almost all dust.
So, Council, obviously, we're in the city. The three-part system, does it include this, what you described as the covers?
Yes.
That's one of the components.
That would be not specifically used for that, but it's multi-pronged. It would save us from rainwater, snow getting on the belts, and it also
That's
decreases
proposed.
dust. Yes, we could propose that and do that.
That's already
Yeah.
in. That's a separate thing, I think. you're
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that is proposed.
Yes, that's
So I think the condition we're looking at is during the months of acceptable weather. I understand the freezing issue, but, from, say, March to November, we can have the misters, and then from, I would do it by temperature. When it's below 32 degrees, that's freezing, right? So whenever the temperature is below 32, obviously you can't run
Of course.
the misters.
Yeah, I'm not looking for them to do anything special, but that, as far as I'm concerned, that would be perfect. The only reason why I brought it up was because there was a mention about a gas line going in to heat up water. If that was the case, then that would be ideal for what they're doing. So I don't know when that's gonna take place, but, I don't have a problem with what was just being proposed. That'll suffice as far as I'm concerned. But
And-
if there was a problem, then we need to do, I don't wanna run into a situation where you have to come back to us. We wanna basically say, hey, look, you know what, you need to put it in.
Of course.
Just as a cautionary scenario.
So, Commissioner, as we all know, the board can condition application. So if that's a condition that this board wants, then the board has the authority to condition
No, I realize
the
that.
approval with that condition. We always ask the applicant, give the applicant a chance to talk about it and tell us their feeling on the condition, but it's within the discretion of the board to add that condition if they so see fit, so.
So the condition is possibly misters
Misters, whenever
during
the
the
weather
months of
is,
Weather
March
permitting.
through November, weather permitting.
Weather permitting.
I would say weather permitting, anytime the weather is above 32 degrees, the misters have to be in operation.
Can you accomplish that, Mr. Vigiano?
I think we can, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one last question, just to follow up on my water question from before. Is that going to be a standalone tank that supplies water to the
Yeah,
operation?
so it's a holding tank.
Okay.
It'd be anywhere from 15 to 20,000 gallons, and that's on site.
Okay, steel tank?
Steel tank, yes,
And how is that going to be heated?
through the gas line.
Okay,
That's really the main purpose for the gas line, is to heat that particular element.
okay. I don't want to get carried away with the conditions here, council, but if water had to be run to a main in the street, obviously it's an engineering issue, but backflows are installed on site.
Backflows?
Backflow protection, Mr. Vigiano, you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, just, standard backflow
Yeah,
water.
it's not a problem. If we have to go down that road, that's not a problem.
I think we understand that if the site needs to make a connection to the municipal water system, they need to get approvals from the JCMUA for whatever the system is and meter the water
Sure.
And you're asking for backflows too.
Yes, so
Okay.
backflows prevent any back siphonage, backflows back into the water system that
Like a
could
check valve.
contaminate the water system. It's a glorified check valve.
Understood.
That's on the tank itself, correct?
No, that would be separate from the tank.
Yeah,
That would be on the main water line, and it would be, it's gonna be, mandatory by code. You wouldn't be able to put it in without it, so you would have
absolutely.
to.
If it's in the code, then we'll comply.
Yeah, you would
100%.
comply by all,
By default.
standard codes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, that's it for me. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Dave. No, go ahead.
Stop sign where the trucks come out. Because last time we were, the same kind of business you had was done at Target, and the trucks were coming out real quickly out.
Mhm.
So we definitely want a stop sign, so the trucks stop before coming out of the exit. Remember the Target, we put the stop sign? Because they were just coming out.
Commissioner, so
There's-
that's an ownership issue, and I can stipulate for you that if this board wants a stop sign at the end of the driveway that the that the applicant owns, we will put one there.
Please do. That was the one.
On the way.
Problems, the one, the other cement place by Target.
Sure. You mean the driveway that accesses out to Jersey Ave? Because that's, yes, stipulated.
Okay.
Stop sign will be there.
I think there's one there already, but yeah,
Wanna make
please.
sure, because what happens
Sure.
Staples.
Eddie?
Acknowledged.
I have a quick question for you, Doug. When we set the trucks, you're gonna look at about 8 trucks a day. How many dump trucks of material? Those are the trucks that are taking the concrete out.
Correct.
So how many trucks are we looking at with material bringing the stone, the sand, and stuff into the site?
Anywhere from 15 to 20, I think, is a safe
A
estimate.
day?
Yes, sir.
So now we're looking about 23 trucks a day going through in and out of the site.
Yes, but the trucks delivering the raw material, they're coming in, delivering, and then exiting.
Yeah, but they're just about.
But
as,
yes.
They're just about as big as a
Crossing the
cement
gate,
truck.
yes, just about that.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be coming in and out of Jersey Avenue,
I believe so.
which,
Yes.
if any traffic study was done, I was looking at, it's a very busy road. It's stop and go traffic on there, especially in that area. Question I have is, I know you have 450 feet between Jersey Avenue and the entrance to the site of operation, right? Dirt roads and stone roads, asphalt parking lot in between that parking area where the operation is. How about when something happens on Jersey Avenue, are you still willing to go out there and make sure that stays clean and dust-free?
Absolutely. The sweeper will be there.
It's gonna be hard with all the traffic.
That's okay. As long as you guys will allow us to pull the sweeper out and help clean the street, we're happy to do it.
No,
Unfortunately, that's not up to us.
that's not up to us for the maintainer, because we did have on the other operations, we do have where you maintain the dust control on the main roads. I know this is further out you have, so hopefully there isn't no dust problem there.
So,
Go ahead.
Mr. Vigiano, do you have a process where you clean the trucks before they actually leave the site?
Yes, so they essentially get washed down very lightly with water as they're mixing up, and it cleans off any residual dust, anything on the fenders, anything from batch, but it's very, very minimal.
And Commissioner, the driveway is a paved driveway. I could have Sean or somebody else come up and confirm that if you want, but I've
Yes.
checked on that.
It's all a paved driveway, because
It's
he
all a
did
paved
say it
driveway.
was some with stone, and so if it's all a paved driveway, okay.
Yeah.
Because what I see in other plants, you have mud and you have traction on the tires coming onto the roads. And we got to keep in mind, we have a hospital
Sure.
right across the street,
Further than
Yeah,
feet even, so go ahead.
From Jersey Ave, it's much, the 450 that we mentioned was from the site of the plant to the nearest residential at the
Okay.
corner of South Cove in Jersey, in St. Peters. We're much further than that. We're more than double the distance to to Jersey Ave. And in terms of the you know, that area is being paved. The area I mentioned as being compacted gravel was actually within the footprint of the fence area where the plant's going to be. Is being proposed to be made pavement. But it's just that area I was talking about was within the fence area.
So basically, the trucks that are
the-
going in and out will be on an asphalt pavement?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Council, anything else?
No, that's our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application?
You swear any testimony you give tonight's gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And for the record, just state your name, give us your home address, please.
Sure. It's Diane. Last name is Case, Kaesd, Kaese, 192 Washington Street, Jersey City. Good evening. I just have actually a couple of questions here. No one has talked about noise from the plant, other than we're X number of feet away. And the other thing we haven't really talked about is routing, because we've talked about the fact that they can deal with any sites within Jersey City and the Jersey City vicinity. That Jersey Avenue is one of the most well-used roads in Jersey City at this point, unfortunately. And being in Paulus Hook, we are a no-truck route from Marin in, and we have absolutely no enforcement of that. You also have a historic district to the north of this, and anytime you have those trucks running down your streets, it is a nightmare for the homeowners in those residential districts, those historic districts. So we have to figure out how to deal with routing if we are going to be taking these trucks and putting them north and east. The other thing that is of note is that when we've had more than one group of buildings being built in Paulus Hook, we found that vacuums work far better than sweepers. Because what happens is that you can mist all you want, and that works Monday through Friday, but it doesn't work at night, and as soon as the street dries up, it's particulates, and it's all over the place. So having the vacuums works far, far better, and that's an extremely windy area, so if we can get the area vacuumed, then I think we have a chance of this actually working. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Case. Council, can you address anything that was brought up?
I probably need Mr. Vigiano to come back up.
Sure.
As far as routing, I think I can stipulate that the operator will use roadways if there's any prohibition of using any roads or going in any particular streets. The operator will abide by those rules and regulations.
So we have a dispatching system where we can actually put figurative roadblocks. And when we send out our tickets to our drivers, they could take a look at the route that we suggest and know that there's light traffic, no heavy traffic, no truck traffic routes, and we'll comply with whatever Jersey City has in place already.
Okay, is there any way we can address, while we have Mr. Vigiano, vacuums? Have you ever?
So we also have a vacuum truck.
Okay.
We were purchasing a sweeper with a vacuum set up on it specifically for this project. So we'll certainly have options.
Okay.
We'll certainly have options.
Okay, so you'll have a vacuum truck on site. Okay, and council, any way we can address noise? What's going to be the impact?
Well,
we have the hours of operation
I know
nailed
there are
down.
noise ordinances in the city of Jersey City, and this applicant and this operator would not, they would have to abide by whatever the noise ordinances are for whatever the activity is, and I think we can stipulate that we will do that. I think, Mr. Vigiano, you had explained to me that there are a couple of things that you already do in that regard. Can you explain those to the board?
So the traditional backup tone that everybody hates to hear all day long, in applications like this, I've replaced them with more of a static tone. So it's more of a than it is a beep. and it seems to be more agreeable to everybody around. The sound is lower decibel-wise than the backup tone, but still meets OSHA requirements, and it doesn't travel as far. Previous employer, I've done it once before in Newport City, and it seemed to make everybody a bit more comfortable with the noise.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, is there anybody else here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone else? A motion to close
Being
public?
no one from public, I make a move to close the public portion of the meeting.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Sophie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. In lieu of the visual assessment that is generally required for major plans, can you just talk a bit about the shrub placement on site?
Sure, Sean, can you come up? I think the plans themselves showed that there were 41 shrubs to be installed on the north and east side of the site. They're on the plans, and I believe the particular type of shrub is also specified on the plan. So that's what the applicant will install around the site. What else can what's the height of the shrubs, Sean? Do you remember?
I think they're planted at, I believe it's called out on the plan. I think it's 4 to 6, I think is the height called out. They're an evergreen shrub.
Okay.
Does that
thank
work
you.
for you, Sophie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Planning staff does recommend approval with conditions, along with the conditions that were defined by the planning board this meeting.
Sure. All right, thank you, Sophia. So, council, conditions-wise, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Hard 7 to
Acknowledged.
6, even though construction starts at 7.
Seven
Replant
to
doesn't
6.
open until
That's-
7.
That's
Okay.
fine. We agree.
Okay. Comply with all noise ordinances is in place from the city.
The use of the mist,
Yeah, we'll say use of the misters with weather permitting, as weather permits. And council, did I miss anything here?
So the misters are above 32 degrees, so 32 and under, the misters get shut off. Stop sign on the entrance
On the
at
entrance,
Jersey
stop
Ave, and we're going to stipulate that there will be a vacuum truck on site and operable, obviously.
And a stop sign coming off the site, correct?
Yes.
Stop sign,
Yes,
correct.
yes. All agreed to.
Okay.
Acknowledged.
All right, thank you, council. I'll entertain a motion then.
okay? I'd like to make a motion to approve case P20240091. Presented to the board as presented with the conditions to the board tonight.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Commissioner Green? Aye. Commissioner Stamato? Aye. Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, council.
Thank you, commissioners, for your time. Appreciate it.
I'll call the first one. Okay, so let's call item 11 is case P2024-0068. It's a minor site plan with C variances for 31 Monitor Street.
Good evening.
Good evening, council.
Members of the board, Veronica Schmiel from Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant for 31 Monitor Street. We were originally listed for the September 10th meeting. We carried with preservation of notice, and I have that original notice with me tonight, if that could be marked into evidence.
So I'm going to, since I called that one application, I'm going to call the next application as well. It's an identical application, so let's also call case P2024-0069 Once again, is a minor site plan with C variances for 29A Monitor Street.
And Veronica Schmiel of Connell Foley for that as well. And as well, 29A Monitor Street was on for the September 10th meeting, and I also have that original notice with me as well.
Thank you. So Councilman, receive the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application at 31 Monitor Street. We're going to mark that as A1 for purposes of the record. And with respect to the affidavit of publication proof of mailing for 29A Monitor Street, we're going to mark that as A2 for purposes of the record.
All right, so
Thank you,
yes,
Counsel.
we have 31 Monitor Street and 29A Monitor Street. These are virtually identical sister applications. The properties are virtually identical as well. For each property, we are proposing a 3-story, 2-family home on 2 pre-existing undersized lots, and the witnesses will be the same. I'll have Jeff Lewis and Caroline Worstel for both.
Brian, just wondering, you get tonight's going to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And state your name.
Jeffrey Lewis, Jeffrey
Mr. Lewis, good evening. We've qualified you in the past, but as you know, we are in the first meeting of October. Is your license current tonight?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start with 31 Monitor, and then I'll go on to 29A Monitor. There are just a few minor differences. So 31 Monitor is an undersized lot. It's 16.67 feet wide by 90 feet deep. 31 Monitor is actually a corner lot. It's at the corner of Lafayette and Monitor Street. It's a vacant lot currently, and we are proposing a new 3-story, 2-family building. The first apartment is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment that is 1,587 square feet, and the upper apartment is a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath apartment that is 1,693 square feet. Looking to the site plan on the right here, and I can go through both sites together. They're basically the same. We are proposing new concrete curbs and new concrete sidewalks. There are a total of 5 new street trees.
Jeff,
3.
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to make sure they're on the screen for
Oh.
everybody too?
Cam.
Oh, yeah, I have mine out.
Oh, okay.
I have it.
There you go.
Okay. Just for.
Thanks.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so site plan on the right, now everyone can see that. So we are proposing new concrete curbs, new concrete sidewalks. There's an existing depressed curb that we will be also replacing. We are proposing 5 new street trees, 3 along Lafayette Street and 2 along Monitor. Moving on to our property, the front yard, we have a 15-foot setback. That's to match the existing building to the left of us. In the rear yard, we have a 10-foot setback. The front yard setback we're using for the stairs up to the 2nd floor, as well as some permeable paver walkways, as well as planter areas to provide some green space. In the backyard, we're using for a small permeable paver patio, and then a lawn, which would be enclosed with a 6-foot wood fence. Okay, here I'm looking at the ground floor to the building. First, on the outside, underneath the staircase, we do have our trash and recycling area. Besides that, we have our entrance to the ground floor unit off of the permeable paver patio area. On the ground floor, we have our main living, dining, kitchen area. And then in the back, we have a bedroom, which has direct access to the backyard, a full bath, a utility closet, and the staircase, which goes up to the 2nd floor. Looking at the 2nd floor plan, this is split in half. The back half of the plan is part of the ground floor unit. It has 2 additional bedrooms for 3 total, an additional bathroom, as well as a washer dryer. The front half of the 2nd floor is the main living space for apartment number 2. It's accessed from the front of the building, from the main staircase. This floor has the living, dining, kitchen area, as well as a half bathroom and stair up to the 3rd floor. This is the 3rd floor plan. This is all apartment number 2. There are 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, as well as the washer dryer, and a staircase which goes up to a private roof deck. And here we're looking at the roof plan of 31 Monitor. We have a 500 square foot private roof deck located on the back half of the roof, and then just open space with air conditioning condensers on the front half of the roof. Here we're showing the front and rear elevations. The front elevation's on the right, so I want to start there. The ground floor, the first floor of the building, the main finish is a light gray precast concrete panels. Above that, our main finish is a smooth red brick. At the corner of the building, we have this 2-story cantilever. We're finishing that with light gray fiber cement panels. All of the windows are black aluminum frame windows, and the doors are both these modern black metal doors with a glazing strip along the side. Looking at the rear elevation, this is a hard coat stucco finish in same color light gray. And just to be clear, this is not EIFS. This is old school hard coat stucco. And here we are looking at the side elevation. This is facing Lafayette Street. And you can see that we are using the same finishes that we used on the front of the building. So the precast concrete panels on the ground floor and brick above with the cantilevers finished with fiber cement siding. Okay, so that's 31, which is located at the corner. I'm just going to breeze into 29. The site plan stuff is all exactly the same. There's no change there. Here we're looking at the first floor plan. The main difference, of course, is that this is not a corner lot. So there are fewer windows. We do have slightly smaller apartments. So the ground floor apartment, the apartment number 1, is still a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's down to 1,464 square feet. And the upper apartment, again, is still 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but it's 1,488 square feet now. So this ground floor is basically the same, with main living, dining, kitchen in the front, bathroom and bedroom with access to the backyard in the back, and a stair up to the second floor. The second floor is still split in half. There is one major difference, and that's that we needed a new light well to provide light and air for the second bedroom. So we lose a little bit of square footage there. There are still 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom on this floor. The front apartment, again, still access from the front, still living, dining, kitchen, and a half bath on this floor with a stair up to the 3rd floor. And this, again, this light well actually gets a tiny bit larger to reach this bedroom. So again, we just lose a little bit of square footage, but still 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, washer, dryer, and stair up to the roof deck. And then here, the roof deck is now 403 square feet because we lost that space where the light well was. However, the rest of the roof deck remains unchanged. Here we're looking at the front and rear elevation to the building. Again, no changes with the small exception that you can see that little step in here where the light well was. And then this is the left side elevation. The darker gray shaded is the building next to us. That building is built right on the property line. We're going to be built right up against that building. We are very slightly larger. And you can see, and we do have the light well here. All of this will be finished with a smooth stucco finish. Again, true stucco, not EIFS. And that would be all the differences between the 2 buildings. I could answer any questions, or we can go on to Carolyn's testimony, and I'll stick around.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Your condenser units on the roof, do they protrude above the
No, we'll have a
roof
42-inch
line?
canopy, and these shouldn't be much higher than that if they are at all.
Okay. All right, anybody else, any questions?
Yeah, go back to the light wells.
Yes.
The light well starts on the 2nd level, and on the 1st level, it's a rooftop.
Correct.
Right there.
There'll be a roof here at the 2nd floor.
How close is the nearest window or entrance to that level? Basically, is there any access to the roof of where the light well is?
No, there's only one window. There's only one window facing that light well, and there's no access through there to the roof.
So later on, there's no form of keeping it nice and clean, keeping it, maintaining it. The only access would be down.
Oh, well, they would, of course, they would be able to step out their window and maintain it.
if
they
something
wanted
was
to.
down there,
Yes, it's
right,
a-
and
it's a
get rid of
window
it,
They would be able to
right?
clean up. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's
Yeah, it's like 2 feet up. It's just the regular window height.
okay. As long as you have one window where they can access.
Yes, there
just
is a
in
window
case
that they can
need to.
access.
It doesn't
the stair.
become a pit. You know, it's a garbage.
Correct. It is open to the back as well.
Yeah, and
So
open
you
to-
can access it from the back as well as from the window, both.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else, any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thanks.
Okay, and we'll turn to our next witness, Carolyn Worstel, to provide professional planning testimony.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Have the record from the seat signing.
It's Carolyn Worstel, Carolyn, Worstel, Worstell.
Ms. Worstel, good evening. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you. So we're here this evening for these two projects. They have identical variance relief being requested for both of them. And it is deviations for minimum rear yard setback, minimum combined front and rear yard setback, and then maximum building coverage. So starting off with that minimum rear yard setback, the project is proposing a rear yard setback of 10 feet, where a minimum rear yard setback of 20 feet is required. And then we're also requiring, because we have this undersized rear yard setback, that's triggering this need for this combined front and rear yard setback, where we're providing 25 feet, where a minimum of 35 feet is required. The project is proposing a 15-foot front yard setback, which is conforming and is consistent with the adjacent property. Overall, there's a bit of a hardship. This is an undersized lot. It's 90 feet, where 100 feet is what is anticipated for lots within the district. We're in a bit of an unusual situation here too, because of the way that the block frontage, the block is laid out. What is the rear yard for these two properties ends up being a side yard for the adjacent property on Lafayette, which is 51 Lafayette and Lot 15. And that building has, it extends more than 50 feet back, and it has no windows on it. So essentially what is directly behind these properties is a blank wall. So there really will be no impacts to light and air to that adjacent property because they don't have any windows facing the rear of these two lots. So I think overall this project does provide that adequate light, air, and open space. It is still providing that 10-foot rear yard setback, which does provide for some yards, and is more than generous than when you consider it and think of it as a side yard setback, where typically you'd expect about 3 feet. And there's going to be no impact to sort of the interior donut hole, as you will, of a block, because of the layout of the block, we're isolated from that donut hole, and so we'll have no impact on that area within the block. We're also requesting maximum building coverage. So I guess 31 is proposing a building coverage of 72.25%, where a maximum building coverage of 60% is permitted. And that just, again, has to do with the fact that we do have an undersized lot. We are requesting, we end up with a building footprint that is more than what is contemplated because we have a smaller lot. But overall, the project is still proposing that compliant lot coverage. We're at 84.9%. So even though we're asking for more building coverage, our lot coverage is still conforming. And the building footprint is consistent with what you would anticipate and to see within this R district, and will provide space for, two nicely sized 3-bedroom units, and promotes that diversity of housing options that you want to see developed. So I think overall, let me see, we're looking at these both the same. Okay, so that was 31. 29A, again, we have the exact same setback conditions. Our lot coverage is slightly different, again, because we have slightly different situation going on there. That is a building coverage of 68.59%, so it's just slightly different. But essentially, it's the same, issue of we have a building footprint that's consistent with what you would expect to see in our district on a slightly smaller lot. And again, we're still maintaining that compliant lot coverage. So I think overall, the benefits of the variances being requested for both of these properties substantially outweighs any detriments. It's proposing a permitted use, this two-bedroom or this two-unit development in scale with the surrounding area and compliant with maximum building height, maximum lot coverage, front and side yard setbacks, and overall presents a building bulk that is consistent with what you would expect to see in the R district. And it will provide for an updated streetscape along Monitor Street and Lafayette Street by improving the currently vacant lot with a new residential building, and while providing new sidewalks, curbing, and street trees all along Monitor Street, as well as new landscaping in those front yards. The projects will advance the municipal land use law, including Purpose A through the development of an appropriate use, which is the two-family use. It's consistent with Purpose C. It'll provide adequate light, air, and open space by providing appropriate setbacks that are consistent with the character of the area and appropriate given the location at a corner and the block layout here. It's consistent with Purpose E. It also promote an appropriate population density by providing two unit dwellings. And it's consistent with Purpose I, that promoting a desirable visual environment by basically developing what is currently a vacant lawn and providing for improved streetscape. I think overall, the granting of the deviations will not result in a substantial detriment to the public good or general welfare. These are currently vacant lots, and they're going to be developed with a permitted 3-story, 2-unit buildings, and will complete the streetscape at that corner of Monitor and Lafayette Streets. Granting the requested deviations will likewise not result in a substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan or the zoning ordinance. They're consistent with the purpose of the residential district to protect and preserve residential character of the Lafayette neighborhood through due consideration of scale, streetscape, setback design, and impact. It also advances the Jersey City master plan by redeveloping the properties to provide unique, attractive, and high-quality residential uses that will serve existing residents and attract new residents with a wide range of housing and lifestyle choices. So I think overall, for both of these applications, that the deviations can be granted and that both the positive and negative criteria have been met. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Worstel. Anybody, any questions? Anything? Okay, thank you, we appreciate it. Council, that's your presentation?
That concludes our presentation for both properties.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone here from public?
Seeing no one from public, I move to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Genro, anything? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, staff agreed to the applicant's professional's testimony. I would just ask the applicants to agree to the conditions in the staff report.
Yes, we are in receipt of both staff reports, and we agree to those conditions.
Okay. With that, staff recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion then, and they're separate motions.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve case item number 11, case P 2024-0068, 31 Monitor Street, as it was presented here tonight.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
Chairman Lanston?
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Worstel's testimony. I don't think there's any detriment, and the diversity of housing options is great for that neighborhood. It's not often we see those size units there, so it's an aye for me.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Chairman, next thing I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0069, 29A Monitor Street, as it was presented to the board tonight.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Commissioner Green? Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Chairman Linston.
I'd like to just echo my comments from the last application. It's a very similar application, so my vote is aye.
Motion carries all in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mike, break? Okay, let's take a 10-minute break, everybody. It's 7:14. We'll be back 7:24-ish.
Okay. It is? Okay. Great.
All right, could we? Yeah, I do stuff. Could we come to order again, everybody? All right, so we're going to backtrack real quick to case P23-083 and case P23-084. The first is a preliminary and final major subdivision with variances for 206 Van Voorst Street. Second is a preliminary and final major site plan with variances, once again, 206 Van Voorst Street. And just for the record, Commissioner Samato, you have had a chance to read the transcript? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. So as the board is aware, this was before you in early September, and then some issues and concerns were raised during the presentation. Since that time, we've gone back and addressed those issues, specifically with regard to the condensers and the trash, and there are some aesthetic issues on the design. Nicole has been working with the neighborhood, with Diane Case on some changes that we think, all of these changes tonight that we're presenting, we think it makes a better project. So I appreciate the comments at the last meeting, because in sharpening our pencil, I think what you're seeing tonight is much better. So what we have left tonight is to show you the changes that we've worked on. And then we have not yet had testimony regarding the requested variances, so Catherine Gregory is here to address those after the architectural presentation.
Okay, thank you, counsel. And I love that sharpen the pencils expression. It's one of my favorite. I appreciate that.
Exactly. Yes.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
The record, can you state your spelling name?
It's Nicole, Nicole, Robertson, Robertson.
Ms. Robertson, good evening. You were the architect of record on the last application, or the last time we heard this application. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay, great.
Nicole, do we need to mark this?
Yes, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation to streamline the discussion, so we can submit this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so I will try to move efficiently through the presentation, and rather than recap everything that's been discussed, there were many very good concerns and questions raised a few weeks ago, and as Mr. Harrington explained, we did go back to the drawing board, sharpen our pencils, and we've created a new design here, which, spoiler alert, I'm presenting the rendering first to share with you what the new design looks like. The changes, I'm going to share with you the changes that occurred in plan, and the rendering shows the aesthetic changes that had a lot to do with the materials that we selected to be more in harmony with the neighborhood. So I'm going to just skip through the contextual slides, perhaps just a reminder of where we are. Adjacent to the Paulus Hook Historic District, we're in a kind of buffer zone here at the corner of Van Voorst and Morris Streets, a buffer between the Tidewater Basin Redevelopment Plan and the Paulus Hook Historic District. I'm going to just go to the ground floor plan, which was an area that we studied very closely. If you'll recall from my presentation in September, we had a kind of common trash room that was proposed on Van Voorst Street, where, you know, the kind of question of functionality came up, and we actually opted to remove that trash room and just enlarge that corner unit so that it has a more generous bedroom and ensuite bathroom.
there, and a small kind of green planted area in front of that space. So we no longer have that kind of common access. But we did want to address the question of how trash would be managed. These are 5 two-family townhouses, attached townhouses. So I don't believe we're required to provide a plan for management of trash, but it's very important anyways to consider that in the design. And so we're looking at, if I zoom in on this portion of the plan where we show the stair access to the townhouse entrances, you can see that in order to comply with the base requirements of the flood zone, the first floor is elevated. So we have several steps up to the landing, and what that creates is actually a space underneath the landing of the stair that is quite large and accessed by a louvered access door where an owner could allocate trash as a holding place rather than keeping it in their apartment, and it doesn't have to sit out on the street until collection day. So that space is tall enough to hold trash, or it could also, if they wanted to use it to store strollers or other items, there's, we're making use of this space that's necessary for flood compliance and then, taking advantage of that opportunity. So that's what this diagram is showing. To go back to the plan, so that's where that is located. And then one of the other topics that we discussed was the treatment of the green spaces in front of the building. So we were providing for some before. We've managed that a little bit further by providing a kind of 1-foot tall fence around these green spaces at the front of the building. We have shrubs shown there. And that's a kind of buffer between the sidewalk and the building, as well as the playground area that serves the daycare. Previously, we had the fence for the daycare, it was set back further, and now we're aligning it with the front of the building, so there's no longer a kind of potential problem of inviting, animals or things to occupy that space. So the daycare is that green space here in the kind of square green area is part of that outdoor space that serves the daycare, and then in front of that is a landscaped area with bushes, and then enclosed by a 1-foot tall fence. Another topic that we discussed and addressed in our revised design was the location of mechanical equipment. Previously, we had a plan for condensing units to be mounted to the rear of the rear of the building, and there were a lot of questions about how to service those units and the aesthetic of that. So we have relocated them to the rooftop. They're enclosed by a mechanical screen. And this drawing just shows them highlighted in pink, so it's very clear where those are located. These areas serve all of the triplex units that we have on the upper floors, and then the units that serve the first floor 2-bedroom units, those are at the back of the building. And if I go to that rear elevation, what we've done, and the reason for this is because these are going to be 2 separate owners, there is a practicality to servicing the unit. So we're locating the condensing units that serve the first floor apartments on a platform that's elevated above the design flood elevation, so they won't become flooded during a storm, but they can be easily accessed for maintenance. So those are the kind of practical matters that we addressed in the plan. The other main focus of our work and conversations with Diane and the Paulus-Hook Neighborhood Association was our material selections. Previously, we had black metal panel and some orange accent panels. We took another look at the neighborhood, and we're proposing a kind of almond. The name of it is actually sandstone, so it's a kind of off-white metal panel, and we are articulating the individual townhouse units using flat metal panel to delineate one unit, and then we have a ribbed metal panel, which is shown here in this, what you're seeing, this kind of striping pattern is actually just a shadow line created by the ribbed configuration of the panel itself, and that's how we define the units and relate to, break down the scale of the building and relate to, the other kind of smaller scale buildings in the neighborhood. So we have an almond or, sandstone colored metal panel. We've also changed the window frames. Previously it was an orange, which was, I think, a little too bright. So we're going with an anodized light bronze color for that, as well as the accent panels that we're using. And then the base of the building is in a kind of orange brick. Previously we were using a red brick. We took another look at the Belfuse building at the corner and thought that it appears in the rendering to be red, but actually it's more of an orange color, and I have some samples of what we've selected, as well as a kind of cream-colored mortar. So it's much more kind of in keeping with what's existing at the Belfuse building. And then we also are proposing a sandstone-colored stucco at the rear rather than a gray. And then this is the material board, so this is the brick that we've selected, which we think is more compatible. And then this is our material board, which shows, this is the color of the metal panel, which is a kind of almond color. It's just a softer appearance. And then this is light, anodized light bronze, which would be the color of the window frames, and then also those fins that we had, the kind of accent fins. It's, when it catches the light, and it's outside, it will catch the light nicely and not be so dark as it appears in here. And then the rear facade is this color stucco. This is just for texture, and this is the actual color itself, which matches the other features. And I think that's it. And I'll just actually leave with the rendering up for you to see what the building looks like.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Robertson?
I just have one, and it's regarding the condensers in the rear yard.
Mm-hmm.
Are they out of the way of the egress for those stairs?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we were very careful. That is the second means of egress for that unit. Yes, it is clear. I can go to the plan to show you that. So. Okay, so you can, I don't have a measurement on there, but we did look at this in the office, that this is more than 3 feet. So there's the platform that sits just below the window, and then at the base of the stairs, there's a landing and clear space to come down the stairs and exit, because we can't block it.
Okay. And there's legs under those, correct?
Yes, there are legs under it, so it's not hanging off the back of the building. It's on a supported platform.
It's just visually when someone walks down those stairs.
Yeah,
If there's no legs on there, I'm going to hit my head every time.
We thought that was going to be a problem, that someone could potentially walk into it, so we did want to have legs and just make it more obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody? Go ahead, Pat.
Back to your sanitation collection and your
Mhm.
Are you putting containers in? How are you going to handle that?
I think we're leaving it up to the homeowner if they want to make use of that. I mean, I think these are 2-family attached townhouses. So, there's a total of 10 units. Yes. So, people would, if they want to utilize that area, they can put trash under that storage space. No, they could use a container, and it would fit.
It's large.
Both recycling and one for, basically one for recycling and one for sanitation, and I think that space might be good.
Yeah, it's a big space. I mean, it's very deep. It could fit containers, so we're leaving it a little bit open if people wanted to use it for another use, for managing trash, if they'd prefer to keep it in their house until collection day, but we're just trying to provide an option for that. Yeah. Okay.
So these are individual lots. We're gonna subdivide, create individual lots with two-family houses on each lot. So given that's the scenario, you're probably gonna see trash pails under there, and the homeowner would then put it, out for the collection on the curb. But in theory, the homeowner could keep their trash inside their house until the,
You know what I mean? I mean, I guess bales, regardless, I mean, you don't want them using bags.
I would not put my trash in bags and put it in that area myself, but they also don't have to use it. They could keep their trash inside their home and then put it out when collection would take place. Again, I take my garbage out 4 times a day, but that's me.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I want to piggyback off of Chairman Langston's question. I was looking at the same thing, and I just want to know if the units, even you have legs, I guess you can't lower it down if you had to, but is it code compliant? That's all. That those units by the window and by the stairway become code compliant.
They are code compliant.
They are?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And
I find them very close to the window, but I don't know the code by heart offhand. But as long as you say they're code compliant, then I'm good with moving on.
Yeah, they're code compliant. We're not blocking the egress, and they're serviceable, and they're within the kind of property of the unit owner, so it's practical for access for them. Those were all of the considerations that we were thinking about. Yeah, it's a little challenging to figure out where to put them because we have limited space in that yard. But
Yeah, but the purpose of limited space only tells me that as long as it's not a fire for apparatus to go in and out of the building or people or the noise level, there isn't no compliance from the window level. As long as it's code compliance, then I'm okay with moving on.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Questions? Good? All right, thank you, Ms. Robertson.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you then. My next witness will be Ms. Gregory to address the requested variances.
You swear any testimony you give tonight's gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, can you spell your name?
Yes, Catherine, Kathryn, last name Gregory, Gregory. My business address is 96 Linwood Plaza, number 350 in Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Ms. Gregory, good evening. We've qualified you in the past. Your license is current?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
qualified.
Okay, Catherine, take it away.
Okay, so we are here tonight for a subdivision and also site plan approval for the proposed project. I know that this project was discussed at length at the last hearing, so I'm just going to get right to the variances. So as part of this, I'm going to talk about the subdivision variances first. As you well know, we do have an existing building on the site, and then we have this parking lot, and we are proposing to subdivide off the existing building and then also subdivide where the parking lot area is into separate lots. So in terms of the minimum lot size that is required, the lot for the building itself does not require a variance. However, the other lots that we are proposing for the townhouses are going to need variances from your zoning ordinance. The minimum lot size required for interior lots is 2,000 square feet, and lots 13.01 and 13.05 are proposed to contain 1,302 square feet, and lots 13.02, 13.03, and 13.04 are proposed to contain 1,317 square feet. 2,400 square feet is required for corner lots, and our corner lot, which is 30.06, is proposed at 1,521 square feet. I believe that the minimum lot size variances are warranted, particularly in this buffer district, as there are many lots that are contained within the immediate area that have lot sizes that are less than 2,000 and the 2,400 square feet. By way of an example, when you take a look at the tax map for this particular block, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 22, and 33 on the same block have deficient lot sizes, which range from 700 square feet to 1,925 square feet. And then if you take a look at Sussex, on Sussex, there's actually 15 lots that range from about 1,600 square feet to 1,670 square feet. So there are a number of lots that are undersized in this particular neighborhood. So we feel that these undersized lots really fit in with the character of the neighborhood. Also, as a result of the subdivision, the lot for the existing building, we are going to need a couple of variances for that building itself as a result of the subdivision. A minimum front yard setback is required of 5 feet, and 0 feet is proposed, but that's also the existing condition because the building is already there. We also need a variance for the rear yard setback for the existing building. 15 feet is required, and 0 feet is proposed. Again, that's an existing condition. And we also need a maximum lot coverage variance for that building. 75% is permitted and 100% is proposed, but again, that's also an existing condition. It doesn't change as a result of the subdivision itself. So those would be the variances that are associated with the subdivision. And I'll pop back over here. I think this is a better mic. Okay, so the site plan variances with the proposed townhouse complex, I guess you could say, even though they're individual units. We do need a minimum front yard setback variance for each of the proposed lots. 5 feet is the minimum required. And while we don't meet that requirement, our proposed front yard setbacks range from 4 foot 8 inches to 4 foot 11 inches. I would say that this is a de minimis exception rather than a true variance per se. And I believe that it meets the intent of the 5 foot setback, even though we are slightly deficient. I would also say that for the minimum rear yard setback, 15 feet is required. And our setbacks range from 8 feet to 8 foot 2 inches. We also need a maximum lot coverage for each of the lots. 75% is permitted, and we are proposing 94.2% for the corner lot, 97.9% for lot 30.05, and then 97.7% for lots 30.02, 0.03, and 0.04. We do believe that the lot coverage variances are warranted due to the smaller lot sizes, as well as the fact that when you look at the neighborhood, there are greater lot coverages than the 75%. Lastly, we also need a variance for the number of parking spaces. 1 space is required per unit. None are proposed for any of these units, but I believe that the parking variances are warranted, as the proposed townhouses are actually 1 block from the light rail at Marin Boulevard, 5 blocks from the New York Waterway, 3 blocks from the New Jersey Transit 1 bus, and 5 blocks south of the PATH station. So there are many public transportation options. We feel like this is a better alternative so that we can encourage walking in the historic district. In terms of the bulk variances, we have to prove both the positive and the negative criteria. I would not necessarily say that we have a hardship case. I think that we are rooted in the C2, where we advance the purposes of zoning. I believe that we promote purposes A, E, I, and M. A talks about promotion of the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. I think in this instance, what we're doing is we are taking a city corner that contains a parking lot, which is really never a great thing you want to see at a city corner because it really doesn't help identify each of the streets. And we are trying to provide architecture that is in line with the character of the neighborhood. I also believe that purpose E we promote, which talks about promotion of the establishment of appropriate population densities. We are proposing basically 2-family homes in the in the context of a townhouse. And they are permitted actually on any size lot. I also believe we promote Purpose I, which talks about promotion of a desirable visual environment. As I sort of indicated before, we are sort of completing the streetscape at this location, which is really one of the intents, I believe, of all of the districts in this area. And also Purpose M, which talks about encouraging the coordination of various public and private procedures that shape land development to the efficient use of land. I believe that we are making efficient use of that land here in this location. In terms of the negative criteria, I don't believe there's any substantial detriment to the public good by granting the variances we've proposed. I believe that the majority of the variances were proposed are existing conditions in the neighborhood. You will see them throughout the neighborhood. But I think that the benefits outweigh the detriments here because we are going to complete that streetscape and meet the intent of this area. I also believe there's no substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of your zone plan and zoning ordinance. I think that the project meets the intent of both the Tidewater Basin redevelopment plan and also a couple of the objectives from your master plan, which would include to continue efforts to enhance residential neighborhoods. I believe that we're doing that here, and ensure that the city's available housing is balanced and meet the needs of all current and future city residents. So with that said, I think the project on balance does meet both the positive and negative criteria, and we hope that the board sees fit to grant the variances that we've proposed this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gregory. Any questions? Okay, thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council, that's your presentation?
Yes, that completes our presentation.
Okay, thank you. So let's open it up for public comment. If anybody's here from the public that wants to comment on this application, please come on up. Ms. Case, good evening. You've been sworn in already tonight, and if you could, just for the record,
Sure.
you understand that you're still under oath.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, and we have 3 minutes for you.
Okay. I would like to say thank you to the board members for their comments at the last hearing, and I would also like to say thank you to the applicants. I think we've come a long way in the last several weeks, and I think it's going to be a plus for the neighborhood. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else from public? Anyone else from public?
Seeing no one from public, I move to close the public portion part of the meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so on the subdivision application, memo was prepared on July 2nd, 2024. And for the site plan application, a memo was prepared on August 27th, 2024. There are recommended conditions in both of those memos that we would recommend the board apply should you make a motion to approve these applications. Has the applicant been able to review those?
Yes, and those conditions would be acceptable.
Okay. The subdivision application, as well as work related to the existing building as a result of the subdivision, have both appeared before the Historic Preservation Commission, and they've received a certificate of appropriateness. There are also, I believe that there are typically conditions that run with those certificates as well. So we would like to see those be complied with as well, and part of the resolution that would result from potential approval of these projects. Staff is happy to see some of the changes go back in the interim between the two meetings, as well as meeting some of the conditions or requests of the community at large. We are satisfied with the planning testimony regarding the variances. Staff recommends approval for both projects, or both applications.
All right, thank you, Matt. So I'll entertain a motion, and again, these are going to be two separate motions.
Should I be doing
Subdivision first. Subdivision first.
That's the 7C?
7B.
B?
23083.
Okay. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024 -083.
Wrong case number, Ed. P23. 23-083. Sorry.
It's the one I just read, right? Oh,
083.
no, okay, I see. Yes, I
Yep.
voted wrong. I'm sorry. Start over. Chairman, I'd like to make a
7B.
motion to approve case P23-083 as it was presented to the board tonight.
And that's with staff's recommendations, conditions.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Okay, Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Chairman Langston.
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Gregory's testimony on the subdivision. I think the variances are well within reason, so my vote is aye.
Motion carries. All in favor on motion approved with conditions.
Okay, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P23-084 as it was presented to the board tonight with the conditions by the staff.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Commissioner Torres.
Just make a quick comment on this one. For the people from Van Voss Park, it's good to see that they were able to work with them. We're going to come up here and to the developer and the community that they work together. And for the other developers, this is the way things work smoothly, you know, when we reach out and talk to the people in the community and listen to them. And then they listen to you too. That it goes both ways. So with that, I vote aye.
Commissioner Stamato.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Chairman Langston.
Yeah, once again, I agree with Ms. Gregory's testimony. I think the variances are within reason and propose no detriment to the zone plan or master plan. I want to echo Commissioner Torres. You know, I appreciate the applicant reaching out to Paulus Hook Neighborhood Association and, you know, all the changes that came about with those conversations. I think it's a better project for that conversation. And my vote is aye.
Motion carries. All in favor on a motion approved with conditions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's call item 13 is case P2023-0026. Is a preliminary and final major site plan for 81 Palisade Avenue.
Okay. Okay, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. We did provide public notices with regard to this application. I have provided those to council.
Thank you, Council. Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication, proof of mailing with respect to 81 Palisade Avenue here in the city. All does appear to be in order. We can mark it as A1 for the record.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, so the application we're presenting tonight is an as-of-right application in that we are not asking for any variances. It is a project that is in the most recently introduced zone of RC2 district. So it's the new zoning that was adopted after the master plan was adopted. So we have provided a project that is compliant with that. It is a 5-story building with 14 residential units and 8 parking spaces and 16 bicycle spaces. Just note for the record, the parking actually is not required because of the size of the lot, but it is permitted. And the lot is almost 8,000 square feet, it's 7,984 square feet. So, what we're presenting tonight is something that we have worked on extensively with staff, with different iterations with regard to its design and programming. So this is the final product as a result of that. I have one witness tonight as our architect, Raul Cabato, that will present the project.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state and spell your name?
Raul Cabato, Raulcabato.
Mr. Cabato, good evening. We've qualified you in the past as well. Your license is current tonight?
It is current, yes. sir.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay. The project, as stated by Charles, the project is located in RC-2 zoning district. The lot is irregular shaped.
Can't close the door.
The lot is irregularly shaped lot with an average width of 69.95 feet and an average depth of 120.55 feet. The lot has an area of 7,954 square feet. Proposed shall be 5-story, 55-foot high structure with a total gross floor area of approximately 28,017 square feet. We are proposing 14 dwelling units and 1 commercial unit. Also proposed are 8 parking spaces as well as 16 bike parking spaces. The proposed structure shall be built to the front property line from the 1st through the 4th floors. The 5th floor shall be set back 10 feet from the front property line. There shall be no setback at the west side property line and a 4-foot 8-inch setback on the east side property line, which is down here. This setback affords an egress path from the rear of the building to Palisade Avenue. At the 1st floor, the building shall have an 18-foot rear yard setback, and on the 2nd through 5th floors, so there shall be 36-foot rear yard setback. No variances are being requested at this time. We are also proposing the planting of 2 street trees. Also proposes a sign approximately 7.3 square foot located above the commercial unit's entry doors. Going to sheet A100, located on the 1st floor shall be various utility meter rooms, a refuse area, sprinkler pump room, bike parking for 16 bikes and 8 automobile parking spaces. There shall be a commercial unit on the 1st floor, which is about 753 square feet in area. Sheet A102 and sheet A101 and A102 are there's 4 dwelling units per floor are proposed on the 2nd and 3rd floors for a total of 8 dwelling units. These units shall each have 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with laundry appliances. On average, a typical 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit shall be about 990 square feet. I'm referring to sheet A103 and A104. The 4th and 5th floor shall make up 6 duplex dwelling units. Entry shall be from the 4th floor for each unit. There shall be 2 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, 3 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom units, and 1 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom unit. All the units shall have laundry appliances. On average, a duplex unit shall be about 1,343 square feet in area. A more detailed breakdown of the sizes of the units can be found on sheet Z101, which is down here. Okay. Proposed that the roof shall be a 1,032 square foot rooftop deck, which shall be an amenity space for the occupants. There shall also be about 2,000 square feet of green roof elements. The green roof elements consist of self-draining plant trays. This particular system was selected for its ease of installation, reasonable cost, and easy maintenance. The modular nature of the system ensures that replacing parts become effortless. The benefits include stormwater management, reduction of the heat island effect, reduction of energy usage, noise reduction, in addition to the visual and aesthetic benefits. Details of the green roof element can be found on sheet A401. The primary facade fronting Palisade Avenue consists mainly of a red brick finish. The setback portion on the 5th floor shall be clad with fiber cement siding. Windows, copings, as well as the cornices shall be clad in metal. The windows shall be casement type with sandtone finish. Details of the finishes can be found on sheet A103. I'm sorry, A303. And that's my presentation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Gabato?
I don't know if this is the proper time to talk about it. I wanted to get into the transportation comments from the city. I don't know if council, if Mr. Cabato's testimony is relevant, or we want to address those separately.
We can address them now while Mr. Cabato's here.
Mr. Cabato's your only witness, right, counsel?
That's right.
Okay.
So I think Mr. Cabato's going to have to address it.
So you're in receipt of the letter from Traffic and Engineering from the city?
We are.
Okay.
26th, counsel?
August 26th.
Okay, so let's start with the first item, 1A, under bicycle parking. It doesn't meet the code for an aisle or space that's at least 5 foot wide. Has anything been changed to comply with that code?
That has not been changed yet, but our thought was to, reach out to the traffic engineering and to work on a resolution. One thought was to maybe move it to the other side of the garage area, where you have the handicap space. You have extra room there, if that would be compliant. We do exceed the number of required parking, bicycle parkings spaces, because we're only required to have 7. We have 16. So if it is required to reduce them in order to comply with that distancing, that's something that we would try to discuss with and work out with traffic and engineering.
Okay, and there's no way we can get a physical barrier in there as well, correct?
Could we get a physical barrier?
Of course, I mean, yes, we could get, if we were to relocate it to the area near the handicap parking, yes, we could install a physical barrier.
Mr. Chairman, my only problem with all of that, obviously, is whether or not it's going to comply with the code requirement. I mean, I'm looking at a memo from August 26th that specifically calls out exactly what's deficient about it.
Sure.
Sprinkler room that big?
It doesn't necessarily have to be that big, it could be half the size.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you want to propose that? We could.
Mr. Chairman, as an alternative, I think we could also, we have a sort of oversized sprinkler room. We could grab some of that space for the bike parking. Right now, we have it at 19 feet 4 inches in length.
See what shirt I'm wearing here, right?
Just for the record, he doesn't see the emblem on your shirt. It's
No,
not
that's
visible.
okay. That's okay. I mean, I would never suggest to take away from a sprinkler room. But, I mean, it's got to comply with the code. That's the bottom line here. Reducing the number of bikes that are in that storage space doesn't make the aisle any wider. Yeah, or provide any more buffering. So if we relocate it to the other side.
Yeah, I
what we
think,
do.
I think there's room for, even if we have to reduce the size of the trash room, in combination with part of the sprinkler room, not all of it.
Okay, and it also, also in the memo, it says that the code requires a construction detail of the bike rack or facilities to be provided. So obviously, we're not meeting that tonight, correct?
Yeah, that can be provided as part of the signature plans. Subject to their review and approval.
Okay with that. Okay. I'm fine with that. Anybody else, any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Cabato, we appreciate it. So, council, let's come to some kind of resolution on this before signature plans, if we could.
Yes, and I believe one of the conditions in the staff report is to comply with the review agent comments as is a traditional comment, so that's something we would work with staff and Jersey City Traffic on.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, with that said, that's your presentation, you said, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Please, come on up.
You want to set up right there. Turn that microphone right to you. You just gotta turn it on.
You got it.
Hello.
Right here, okay?
Yep,
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
it is.
And for the record, can you state spelling name and give us your home address, please?
My name's Bart Warshaw, B-A-R-T, W-A-R-S-H-A-W, home address 97 Palisade Avenue.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Hello. So this is the first application that's, I believe, has come into the new RC2 zone within the Sergeant Anthony Park Neighborhood Association area. This building did not approach the association for any comment. It is a site that we have previously had lots of plans for. We would have appreciated that to have come to us because it is a significantly big building in our what was previously R3, zone, R1, whatever it was, the 3-story zone. On the site was previously a large Second Empire house. It was demolished. We didn't want that, of course, but now we have this design. When we see units of this scale and this size, we particularly in the association encourage there to be affordable units. I don't believe there's affordable units in this particular design. A couple of comments from the people I've heard have said that essentially they feel this is a relatively low effort design. There are living rooms with no windows, quite a number of them. There's considerable space devoted to parking, driveway. I don't think it's completely necessary. The garage opens out into a turn lane on Palisade Avenue at 8 o'clock in the morning. Palisade Avenue is completely rammed. I'm not sure if that's a consideration that you guys need to think about. The storefront entrance, we think that maybe this could be a bit of a redesign on the front. It feels like there's a small store that doesn't really seem to do anything. Perhaps it should be incorporating a lot larger part of the building, especially on that ground floor when we're considering this an RC2, like this is the first commercial building that's going to be put up in that zone. There's a few things I wanted to. I'm not really sure how the trash consideration works. People seem to be putting trash down a chute. Does that door? What happens with the trash? Basically, once it gets into the bottom of that chute. A lot of people that I've spoken to have commented on parking. Of course, it's compliant. There's 8 spots. they don't need parking, but there's 14 units and people have said eight spots isn't enough. One of the big issues that people have also brought up is the trees that are currently on the site. There's two of the largest trees in the Heights on that spot. They'll obviously have to be cut down for this particular design. They were existing for many, maybe over 150, 250 years. They're a very, very large oak tree. We'd like to see that maintained if possible. And then, of course, the new trees on the sidewalk cut down, I believe, 2 trees. So it seems strange that that hasn't been considered.
Thank you, sir. That was your time.
Okay.
That was your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Council, can you address any of those things? Obviously, the trash chute we can knock off quickly.
Yeah, Raul, you want to speak to the trash? Is it how it's going to function?
So we have a trash chute. There's going to be a compactor in the trash room. And, yeah,
It'll be
That-
brought out through the garage?
yes, it'll be brought through the garage.
Okay. And as far as the trees go, there's nothing being saved out front there, correct?
I don't believe so. I think it's all new.
Okay. And there's no way to save those beyond getting rid of the parking?
Yeah, I think it'll lead the way.
That's what's driving the whole thing is those 8 spots?
Yeah, I believe if that was part of the thinking behind it. Let me just see if we could show where the. It's not showing the existing trees. Yeah. I guess we could look into perhaps relocating the driveway.
That's cool. We can try to make efforts to save the existing tree, but we can't make that commitment.
Understood. I mean, just given the location of this building, I don't love the idea that it has parking. I think that's a horrible place to try and pull in and out of. I know the area well, but again, it's compliant. It's compliant with the zoning.
And as everybody knows, it has been reviewed by Jersey City Traffic and Engineering, and they didn't bring up any objections to it.
Yeah. Parking is permitted. Okay, so we're in public comment. Is anybody else here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Please, come on up.
Hi, how you doing?
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Just the truth.
For the record, can you state and spell your name and home address, please?
Teofilo Moreno, Teofilo Moreno. I live in 125 Palisade Avenue, St. Paul's.
Good evening, sir.
Good
We have
evening.
3 minutes for you.
Yes, I've been in the neighborhood for approximately 40 years. I lived in Jersey City all my life. I live in the Heights all this time. I have come aware about this project for a couple of years back. I know that they were brought it to our attention. It's been there approximately like 4 or 5 years empty. I would like to see that building go up. The aesthetics of the building complies with the building across the street. They have some condominiums right across. I think it's a four-story. And I think I support this project. Currently, I live in a 4-story building. With the aesthetics of the community, I think is beneficial for the community. And that's the only thing I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. All right, anybody else from public? Anyone else from public? I'll close public. Motion?
Nobody else from public, I make a motion, close the public portion part of the meeting.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
Certainly, Chairman. So staff submitted a memo dated 10/4/2024 containing 5 staff recommended conditions. Is the applicant able to abide by those conditions?
Yes, we can.
And I, pursuant to Chairman Langston's testimony, I would like to add conditions related to relocating the bike rack in a way that's compliant. It sounds like Mr. Cabato is Considering various creative options, but if all else fails, there's always the option to remove a single parking spot to create the proper clearance. As we've established, there is no parking requirement on a lot this small, so 7 spots versus 8 would still be compliant.
Yes, and if that's an option that the board would put out there, that's terrific.
I'm fine with that. I'm open to that.
Since the zone is so new, I thought it would be worth, for the benefit of both the board and the public, to talk a little bit about the zone. So the RC2 zone is a contextual zone. A lot of the master plan's efforts in this area are around essentially really legalizing the types of uses and bulks and densities that were always prevalent on this corridor, basically ever since the first streetcars went up Palisade Avenue. This is a 5-story building, but the 5th floor is set back 10 feet, and as Mr. Cabato's renderings show, it reads as a 4-story building from anyone walking by in the street. The subtle brick facade matches many of the other brick apartment buildings in the area, such as the one across the street. Generally, when you have a newer building in an area full of old buildings, it's generally our advice as professionals to not have a building necessarily call attention to itself, but to just be sort of a blend into the landscape, so to say. And lastly, I would just like to remind the board that this was a vacant lot when this application was submitted. What was previously on this lot, and that demolition is not being litigated as part of this application. We're strictly looking at the change from the current condition of a vacant lot to this building proposal. It's as of right. It meets all the RC2 requirements. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. All right, I'll entertain a motion then.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2023-0026, 81 Palisade Avenue, as presented with the conditions and comments to the board tonight.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato? Aye. Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Yeah, it's an as-of-right project. It's an aye for me, but I, the board can't require it, but council, obviously, we always want applicants to meet with the neighborhood associations in the area. You're well aware of that. But it is an as-of-right application, so my vote is aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's move on to item 15 is case P2024-0160 is a site plan amendment for 35 to 43 Cottage Street.
Harrington's gonna do this in 5 minutes. No opening, council.
Okay, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley, on behalf of the applicant, we did provide public notices, and I gave them to council for review.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application 35 Cottage LLC. I had the opportunity to review it. It all does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for the record.
Thank you, council.
Okay, thank you. So very briefly, what we're presenting is minor site plan amendments to the project that has been before this board in the past. It's actually currently under construction. This is part of the Homestead Place extension projects. The major item that we're doing is we're increasing the unit count from 576 units to 588 units. And there's also some other, additional slight changes that are made. It's like a typical project. We're making changes as we move along, and there's a lot of back and forth with the synagogue that we're working with that will be put back into this project. So that's why you're seeing some of these changes as well. As far as the presentation, for the record, I have Paul Freitas to present as As in this case, the project architect, Mr. Freitas is working through a hiccup on the renewal of his New Jersey license, but we do have Raul Cabato here as the licensed architect for the presentation. So I'd ask that Raul come up and be sworn in again for this presentation, and then I can hand it off to Mr. Freitas.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mr. Cabato, you've already been sworn in tonight, also qualified. If you could just mention that you understand that you're currently under oath.
Yes, I understand I'm currently under oath.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then with that being said, I'm going to move into Mr. Freitas as the project architect.
Mr. Freitas, good evening, sir.
Never easy, is it? I'll hold it up while
Swear testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Paul Freitas, Paulfreitas.
Okay, Mr. Freitas, could you walk through the changes that we're proposing tonight?
Yes, certainly. So basically, as this building's being constructed, the synagogue, most of these changes are based on requirements that the synagogue has had time to kind of digest and look at and kind of reassess how they want their space to be adjusted or moved, or how they want it to be organized. So for the bulk of the changes and the changes in square footages that are associated with this change are really just to kind of address some of their needs. In addition, of course, there was a change in the number of units where we originally had, we had 48 one-bedroom units, and that's going to be changed to 60, and we decreased the three-bedroom units from 24 to 12. There was a unit increase from 576 units to 588. As far as area increases and decreases, with respect to the building itself, we decreased the retail floor area by 358 square feet. We increased the assembly floor area by 435 square feet, decreased the daycare area by 13 square feet, decreased the educational floor area by 518 square feet, decreased the residential floor area by 194 square feet, and increased our utility areas by 1,002 square feet. And I'll just basically briefly walk you through the drawings so you can kind of see. What I have here is a comparative analysis drawing which reflects the before and after, so you guys can kind of see where the changes were occurred, where they occur and how they were represented. So basically over here we basically just went over all the changes before and after. And then the residential floor area also, as you can see, increased slightly by 134 square, I think it's, 354 square feet. So the net area is increased by 354. On the first floor, we have the building being set back an additional 1 foot, 1 inch. So basically, we've added to the public right-of-way by 1 foot along the entire length of the building, along the synagogue. As part of this change also, we've kind of changed the way the sanctuary is organized and relocated the pantry area and the daycare facilities. That's the original over here. We also changed the lobby area, increasing the width of the lobby itself based on requirements by the synagogue. And also on the second floor included an accessory staircase connecting the first floor and the second floor. We added some bike storage on this floor as well. On the third floor, additional bike storage insofar as that we increased the unit count, so we had to also increase the numbers of bikes, and they are in compliance with the requirements set forth. On the fourth floor and going forward, most of the changes are reflecting changes in locations of utility spaces, and then floors 16 through 27 is where we changed 3-bedroom units to a 1-bedroom and a studio unit. And again, similarly, we changed some of the locations of utility spaces, plumbing rooms and sprinkler rooms and the like. On the elevation, outside of addressing the changes to the unit types and kind of adding windows for the newer units and kind of making them correspond with the units, we basically just changed the elevation to reflect those changes on the interior of the building. So you can see what it was original and what is proposed. And that's the extent of the changes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you. Council, that's
Okay,
your
and
presentation?
That completes our presentation.
Okay, is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone from public?
I see no one.
Public, I close the public portion part of the meeting.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Public is closed. This is, I should just look. Matt, this is yours. Anything you want to add?
Mr. Harrington, are you in receipt of the memo from Maggie O'Neill, Senior Historic Preservation Specialist, dated October 8th, 2024?
The historic preservation memo, or
Yes.
for this application?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are we?
We're on Cottage, 3543
Oh,
Cottage.
my apologies. I got mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But no, yeah.
I am in receipt of your memo.
Too many things at once today. Great, but we will get to that when another case opens. Yeah, really not much to add here. The changes don't add any new variances. There's no density cap in the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan, so the change in unit count is also within the percentage band to be an amended application as opposed to a new application. Yeah, they comply with everything. Staff recommends approval.
All right,
And,
thanks,
and
Matt.
we would agree with the conditions and Matt's memo.
Great,
dated
thank you.
October 4th.
Motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2024-0160.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
All in favor?
Thank you, Council. All right, let's call case P2024-0051 is a preliminary and final major site plan amendment with C variances. Addresses being 100 Water Street, 151 Yale Avenue, also known as 135 Yale Avenue, and 165 Yale Avenue.
Good evening again, everybody. Jim
Good evening,
McCann
Counsel.
on behalf of the applicant. Before I start my presentation, this is a notice case. Counsel, may I approach your notice?
Please and thank you. Chairman, receive the affidavit of notice proof of mailing with respect to 151 Yale, formerly known as 135 Yale, 165 Yale, and 650 Route 440 here in the city. I've had the opportunity to review it. It does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. So the applicant is 100 Water Street Phase 2 LLC. The block and lots that were referenced in the initial announcement of the case are correct. This property is in the Water Street redevelopment plan in the split zone district. And I'm going to wait 1 minute so council can put his slideshow up. I'm sorry, so Mr. Stevie can. So just as a brief introduction, just hopefully to make this a little bit more efficient for us all, this is an existing aerial of the project site, and you could see right there where it is within the yellow boundaries. That is the project site. We've been before the board many times on this project, beginning in 2017. It's a three-phase project. And if you look to the northerly section of the yellow boundary, there's a building there. That was phase one of the project. It faces Clark. Phase one of the project was constructed over the past couple of years. Also, you can see in the center of the yellow boundaries, there are two roads. There's an extension of Yale Avenue that now connects to Bennett, and there's a new street to the I guess that's the southeasterly section of the yellow boundary. So that part of the project is complete. And what you may recall if you were on the board for many years is that the phase one of the project, because of the financial markets and the lending markets, and because this is still what I would call an up-and-coming area, it had to be separated into two phases or a sub-phase. And it worked out. We came back to the board, and that building, we got permission to build it in two phases, and everything worked out. The building is complete. It has COs. It's leased. And so in 2023, the applicant was here before this board for what is phase two of the project. And phase two of the project is intended to be constructed where there's an interim parking lot there. And the applicant received an approval from this board to construct a building there that would be phase two of the project. And then directly above where the greenery area is, there's a smaller lot that's currently an interim parking lot that would eventually be phase three. So we got our approval from this board in 2023. Applicant went to the financing markets, and again, we thought we were over this, but they were again told that this project is too big in this area to be built in one. Phase two is too big to be built in one phase. So we had to come back to the drawing board, and what you're going to see tonight is effectively the building that you approved in 2023 is now going to be separated into two buildings. And what we're going to ask you to do is give us an approval so that we can build the phase two of the building in two stages. Let's call it 2A and 2B. And the reason this isn't just a regular amendment, I'm not going to show you the 2023 approval, because in order to accomplish the goal, we had to basically design a new building. A lot of work. Lot of stuff to do, but that's what happened. So we're going to present to you basically a new building. We're going to ask you for an amended preliminary and final on phase 2A, and we're going to ask you for a preliminary approval on phase 2B, and the architect will make this clear to you as you see. And then we're going to ask you for a new interim use parking lot approval, because we had to reconfigure the interim use parking in order to accomplish that. And Mr. Chairman, what I'm going to ask for is an interim use parking approval for a 3-year term commencing when the resolution is adopted by this board. Just to get that out so I don't forget. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Stevie, who's the project architect, and then I'll have the project engineer also testify, and Mr. Charles Hyde as the planner. We only have one variance or deviation. All right, Bruce.
Swear to testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state your name?
Bruce Stevie, S-T-I-E-V-E.
Mr. Stevie, good to see you. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Stevie, you're familiar with the Water Street redevelopment plan,
Yes, I am.
including the split zone district where this project is?
Yes.
And the presentation that you are going to make tonight, it's partially your plans, but it's also partially some renderings and some presentation materials. So we're going to mark this.
Yes.
Okay. Council, A2, our presentation.
A2, do we know how many slides it is?
I don't off the, 26.
And you'll provide that at the close of
Yes.
the hearing. A2.
Okay, Mr. Stevie, take it away.
So thank you. We're happy to be here tonight for 135 Yale Avenue, Phase 2, and as mentioned, 2A and 2B. As was mentioned, the project is located in the west side of Jersey City in a neighborhood that's experienced a lot of development on sites that have been largely vacant or underutilized. The site indicated in red is the second phase of the already completed first phase, Agnes redevelopment. It's occupied by a surface parking lot, and we're going to have a civil engineer that's going to testify to the interim parking allocation after my testimony. This slide is just a Google Earth view of the project from the corner of the new street that's been created and the corner of Yale. The proposed project is in the Water Street redevelopment plan. The building's a 6-story residential building, 5 floors of units over 1 floor of parking, and it has a 6-story standalone parking structure. In total, it would contain 312 units, 571 parking spaces, 86 of which will be EV charging spaces. It has 2,822 square foot of neighborhood retail and 156 bike parking storage spaces. The Phase 2 project, as we mentioned, is broken down into 2 sub-phases, 2A and 2B. On the left side of the screen, you'll see, let's see if I can get this to work. This is the 2A phase. It's on the eastern portion of the block. We're asking for preliminary and final site plan approval for that. And then the 2B phase is located on the western portion of the block, consists of an extension of the residential building and a standalone parking structure. This diagram shows how the site will be developed. So the Agnes project is in the lower portion of the screen, but you'll see Phase 2A, which is a C-shaped building. That's the first portion of the project to be developed. Then a parking structure will be constructed on Water Street. At the same time, once the parking structure is in construction, they'll begin construction on the Phase 2B residential building.
So Bruce, can you put that back? Just want to clarify one thing. So the garage will be built as part of Phase 2B, and the residential will also be built as part of Phase 2B. The reason the garage has to be built first is so the applicant continue to comply with its parking requirements. So even though it looks like, I saw there's a blank wall there, it looks like there's a blank wall, but it will only be there for a short time because the concept here is to build the garage and Phase 2B at the same time. That's why it's only 1 phase, and 2 phases instead of 3.
Right.
Sorry, Bruce.
That's okay.
You maintain the parking while Phase 2A is happening.
So after we show you the architectural, we're going to bring up the project civil engineer. We're going to go through the interim use parking plan for you.
Okay.
We'll show you then.
So as mentioned, we're asking for a preliminary and final site plan for Phase 2A, so I have that separate. Phase 2A will contain 47 parking spaces. A question, we didn't indicate the EV charging spaces on these plans, but Jersey City Engineering asked that question, and we will be providing the 15% required electric vehicle charging stations per phase and complete for the project. So in total, there'll be 7 EV charging spaces in this parking garage. This parking garage is in a concrete podium. Residential will be above. There are 47 parking spaces in this portion of the building. There is a bike parking storage room on this floor. Garage access comes in off of Claremont in this location. Residential lobby is located on Yale Avenue, and then there's a retail space at the corner of Yale and the New Street. The lobby is in this location so that it is opposite the lobby for the Agnes that developed the first phase development across the street. Trash comes down through the building in a trash room located in this area of the project. It's collected there and then brought out to the street on collection days by building maintenance. There's a series of mechanical rooms that will service both Phase 2A and 2B. So these mechanical spaces will be installed as part of Phase 2A, but they'll also service the building for 2B. The building is a C-shaped building. The rooftop of the parking garage will be used for outdoor amenity space. There are 125 units in Phase 2A. 70 of those will be studios, 35 will be one-beds, 10 will be one-bedroom pluses, and 10 will be two-beds. The other thing you can see is that this building is being set up to transition to Phase 2B. The corridors will extend through and connect to Phase 2B when that comes along, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is a building rendering looking at the corner of New Street and Yale. The building will stop here, so this is Phase 2A, and then the building beyond that is Phase 2B and the parking garage in the distance. I have samples of the building materials on the front desk here. It'll be a light colored brick that is in complement to the Agnes project, which is a dark colored brick across the street. There'll be a dark metal panel used on all the street-facing facades, so it's brick and metal panel. And then the window colors are selected to match the dark metal panel. These are building elevations, and they comport with the rendering that you saw. The one thing we did want to note that in the interim, the west facade has been designed to have a pattern consistent with the facades of the rest of the buildings, the street-facing facades, in a scored stucco material. And again, that's an interim solution until Phase 2B building is constructed. Then we're asking for a preliminary site plan for Phase 2B. Phase 2B will be built adjacent to Phase 2A. So in this image, you can see Phase 2B is in this location. So there's another parking podium under this portion of the building. Access for that parking will be again from Claremont Avenue. There is 81 parking spaces in this location with 12 electric vehicle charging stations. And then there is a parking structure, a standalone parking structure at the western edge of the property that will contain 443 parking spaces with 67 electric vehicle charging stations in there. There's also a bike parking room that'll service 2B. That's located in the lower level of the parking structure. There'll be room for at least 93 bikes in this location. Parking garage ingress and egress for the parking structure was initially planned for an entrance from Claremont, an entrance and exit on Claremont, and an entrance on ingress only on Yale. We did have discussions with Jersey City planning staff and engineering about providing an alternate parking access for that garage, and I'm going to show you that on the next slide. The residential lobby for Phase 2B is adjacent to the residential lobby for Phase 2A, So basically what happens is the wall comes down between those two lobbies. The lobby gets extended across the front of the building. And again, you can see that it's connected to the lobbies for the Agnes project across the street. There'll be a traffic calming table in this location to again, enhance that connection between the two projects. In addition, there'll be an amenity space that will run the rest of the length of Yale. So there'll be active street frontages on that frontage, which again complement the project that was already done in phase one. Again, trash comes down through the building through a trash chute and gets collected on the lower level in bins and brought out to the street for trash collection on trash days. In speaking with the traffic engineers and the city engineers, the request was to eliminate the ingress off of Yale Street and to limit the access off of Claremont for service vehicles and maintenance vehicles only. So residents will now come to the project and they will access the parking garage off of Water Street through an ingress and egress off of Water Street. And again, there's no access any longer from Yale Street. So this is a new exhibit that we're proposing. In addition, on phase 2B and 2A, you can see on this diagram how the hallways extend through and connect phase 2A and 2B together. So in essence, it becomes one continuous building. The outdoor amenity space on the roof over the podium parking is linked together as well. And there'll be opportunities for activity areas outside on that roof terrace. In phase 2B, there's 187 units, 102 studios, 60 one-bedrooms, 10 one-bedroom dens, and 15 two-bedroom units. This is an elevation rendering of the facade along Yale Avenue. In this, you can see the lobby location in the center. So in phase 1, the lobby is located in here, and then when phase 2B gets built, they connect together, and the main lobby for the building will now be in the center of the block. There'll be retail at the eastern portion of the facade, and then amenity at the western side of the facade. Go ahead. Building elevations, again, just to codify materials, which I again have here on the front. And this is a rendering looking at Water Street and Claremont. So again, on this side of the building, the garage access points are in this location, this location. This will become the service entrance for the parking structure, and there'll be a new entrance to the parking facility from Water Street. The parking garage is designed to complement the residential portion of the building. It has its own scale and identity along Route 440. Its materials are the opposite color of the residential building. So where the residential building has a light brick and a dark metal, in this case, the brick is dark and the metal material is light. There's a decorative mesh that's installed in the openings of the parking garage to screen garage openings to help screen the parked cars inside and to screen the lights from views from the street levels of the surrounding properties. And that's my presentation.
So, Mr. Stevie, just one question. So, you walked us through phase 2A and you walked us through phase 2B, including the parking garage. We're not asking for any variances in connection with your design, correct? It complies with the bulk and use requirements of the redevelopment plan?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevie. Any questions, anyone?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
My next witness is Mr. Matt Ryan.
Swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state spelling name?
Sure. Matthew Ryan, R-Y-A-N.
Mr. Ryan, good evening. I think we've qualified you in the past. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It was virtual, but I have been qualified here.
Okay. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay, thanks.
So, Mr. Ryan, you're familiar with the requirements of the Water Street redevelopment plan?
Yes, I am.
And your office and you prepared the civil engineering plans for this project?
That's correct.
And the exhibits that we're going to show tonight were prepared by your office?
Correct.
Okay. So, Commissioners, we have two things to tell you. One is we're going to walk you through the interim use parking plan. And then two, we do need one temporary variance in connection with the parking. And it's the same variance that we needed in 2023 when we were here. Because the redevelopment plan encourages shared parking and because it specifically allows phased development, all the parking is consolidated into that one area that you saw. After phase 2 is complete and before phase 3 is built, the project will exceed the maximum parking requirement for that zone. But once phase 3 is built, the project will comply with both the minimum and the maximum parking requirements. So it's a temporary variance, and we're providing a little more parking than we're allowed to under the redevelopment plan. So, Matt, can I let you take it away with explaining the interim parking plan first?
Yeah, sure, not a problem. And so just for the record, so what we're looking at here, this is a colorized site plan rendering of phase 2A. I'll just give you a brief overview of what's going on in this phase. I'll try to not repeat myself. A lot of it was mentioned by the project architect. But essentially in this phase, we're proposing to construct a 6-story mixed-use building with 125 residential units, 2,839 square feet of retail, and 47 parking spaces covered within the structure. That structure has its own independent curb cut along Claremont Avenue. Now, in addition to that, in this interim phase, we are proposing an at-grade surface parking lot to the west of the building. That has its own independent curb cut along Claremont Avenue. And then I would also just note that parking area has 161 spaces, and it has a pedestrian access point to phase 1. There's an elevated speed table between the phase 1 building and the interim parking lot, which provides elevated at-grade crossing for pedestrians to cross between the phase 1 building and the phase 2 building. There's also a small bump out on the north side of Yale Avenue to allow for cars to pull in adjacent to the phase 1 building and provide pedestrian connectivity between the two buildings. There are bollards proposed along that sidewalk to protect pedestrians, but there is a crossing point in the middle which does not have bollards, which allows pedestrians to walk freely between Yale Avenue.
And Matt, just one thing. So,
Yeah.
so we already have an interim use approval for that parking lot, but we have to reconfigure it for this phase 2A. So that's why we're asking for it to be approved again.
That's correct, exactly.
And the lot at the north that says 23 spaces, that's already there, correct?
Correct.
But
And-
we're using that again.
Correct.
Okay.
And just for the record, just to correct, I believe there's a typographical error on here. It says 22 spaces. There are 23 spaces in that interim lot on the northwest corner of the property.
Which is correctly reflected on the filed plans.
Correct.
Just so that I'm following council, phase 1 has no parking spaces within the building of phase 1?
That's correct.
And those required parking spaces are being picked up in the interim parking?
They are. The interim parking plan will provide the required number of parking spaces for phase 1 and phase 2A.
And currently, the surface parking lot that is where phase 2 is proposed has 161 spaces?
No, it has less than that.
Okay.
I believe it has 117, which is the requirement from the original approvals.
And just by striping and reallocating, they fit on the site?
Yes, sir.
Understood.
So, Matt, so that interim use stage complies with as council asked, it complies with the minimum parking requirement for phase 1 and phase 2A?
That's correct.
And it's under the maximum requirement for phase 1 and phase 2A?
Correct.
Okay. So we comply
Yeah.
at this stage with the redevelopment.
Correct. And just to reiterate, in this phase, we are not asking for any variances. Right. In phase 2A.
Right, okay. Can you take us to the
Yep.
next phase?
So I'll flip to the next slide, which this is which we're calling phase 2B, which is essentially the full build out of phase 2. So in that phase, again, similar to phase 2A, we're not asking for any variances from any bulk requirements. We meet all the requirements for bulk and landscape coverage. We are asking for, as we mentioned, a temporary variance because when this phase is constructed, the interim parking on the northwest corner of the site will still remain in place. And in that temporary phase, we will exceed the maximum parking required just in order to provide all of the parking for the buildings that are open. So we are asking for one temporary variance to exceed the maximum parking requirements. We do have a planner here, I believe, who will testify to that. But in the final end state of the project, that variance would essentially go away.
So council, phase 2A has been completed. Now we're moving on to 2B.
Right.
We're building the parking garage first.
Yes,
So we'll pick up all the required parking and exceed it in that garage before we start the 2B residential building?
correct, because the parking garage is actually a separate building. So it will be CO'd for cars so that it can then, as you said, become part of I guess at that point, the interim parking plan, yes.
Okay.
I don't think we have anything to
Yeah, I mean, I
add.
think that's essentially it.
I think we're over, are we over by 38 spaces temporarily?
I don't have the exact figure in front of
I
me.
think that's the number. It's 38 temporarily.
That's what I thought you were going with, too.
Well, I think we're done.
Okay, any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council?
Charles Height is my planner, who's just going to talk quickly about the temporary deviation for
Sure.
the parking. I did say quickly.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
For the record, please state and spell your name.
Yes, Charles Height, last name spelled Heydt.
Can't believe I didn't take down these. Good evening, Mr. Height. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay. I'll jump right in. So this is a bulk deviation within the redevelopment plan. The maximum permitted parking is 1 space per unit. We are requesting an interim deviation from that requirement where we exceed the maximum permitted for the residential. We did go over the phased nature of this request or this overall project. I did want to reiterate that the redevelopment plan itself anticipates a phased development where site plan approvals can be granted in a phased manner. In terms of the benefits here, we heard throughout all the professionals that the proposed parking deck and interim spaces are a part of the overall phase nature, so nothing would preclude the redevelopment of this property. We're still aiming to meet all the redevelopment goals of the redevelopment plan, that being the Water Street redevelopment plan. In terms of special reasons, I would offer that this deviation actually advances several, purpose A, E, I, and H. I wanted to focus on H to encourage the location of design transportation routes which promote the free flow of traffic while discouraging the location of such facilities and routes which can result in congestion or blight. This board's well aware of the policy reducing automobile-oriented developments, reducing the automobile parking ratios throughout the city. In this situation, it is an interim condition. Through phase 3, we will comply, but we are also designing the overall project along Yale, along Water Street to have improvements for circulation, limiting the egress for commercial service vehicles, the main entrance for residential vehicles, as well as the speed table that was mentioned earlier. Those all add to safety and a reduction in any sort of impact from added circulation. That's the positive criteria. I do think we're also actually promoting the redevelopment of the property, the redevelopment plan, and the master plan, so I see no impairment by the grant of this deviation. We are also not creating any substantial detriment. The proposed parking and the deck have been integrated into the overall design, and the deviation will be an interim condition. So it's my direct testimony.
Thank you, Charles.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Height. Any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, we appreciate it.
All right.
Chairman, I have a question though, but I think it's for the staff clarification outside.
Sure, go ahead.
Before we move on. Okay. I think this is more better for the staff than anything. I'm just wondering if there is a number of amount of residential units when the trash has to be collected privately or put out in the street. Do we have something in the plan that way?
We do. Offhand, I can't recall. It is in our LDO. I cannot recall offhand. I'd have to look it up if you know.
So can we get a condition that if they're over the number, that they would do private pickup of the trash?
We'll stipulate private pickup. That's how the project is going to work. It's going to be a private trash hauler.
Well, he stated before that they were going to put it out to the curb, the trash. So I just thought that it was being publicly picked up.
No.
He said it comes out of the compactor onto the curb, right?
I just meant that it would be picked up at the curb, but it would be by private hauler.
Oh, okay.
So
That's just wanted to be clear on that. All right, thank you.
Okay, council, that's your presentation?
Yes, and I'll just add, just to be quick, we have traffic engineering comments. We also have MUA comments. We will work with both of those agencies in order to address whatever comments they have. I will just point out that since we're asking for a preliminary approval only on 2B, we might ask that some of those conditions be deferred until we come back for a final site plan, since it's a no-build approval for Phase 2B. We might.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone here from public?
Seeing no one for public, I move to close the public portion part of the meeting.
Second it.
All right, motion is made and seconded for public. It is closed. Cam, what do you got for us?
Good evening, board. Okay, so thank you to the professional planner for your testimony regarding the variances. I couldn't find you, Charles. He's correct. The redevelopment plan does contemplate projects to be phased like this. As annoying as it might be, this is actually how the redevelopment plan envisioned projects to function. And the interim use can be approved with 3 one-year interim use approvals if the board sees fit. So planning staff has no issue with that. Planning staff also has no issue with the variance being proposed. It was previously approved under the very similar approval, which was granted under P22 -217 in February of last year, and that is the interim use parking variance for excess of interim parking spaces. And planning staff sees that there is no detriment to the zoned plan, the master plan, or the city ordinance, or the public's general health, welfare, or well-being. And ultimately, the project complies, and city staff recommends approval.
Okay, thanks, Cam. So, before we make the motion, how do we want to make the motions here?
Well, it's actually one application, so I think you
Yeah,
could just
that's-
approve the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Okay, so then, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Motion to approve case P2024-0051 as it was presented to the board tonight.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Okay, on a motion to approve with conditions, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato, Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Yeah, I agree with the variances. I think there's no detriment to the zone plan or the master plan of the city, so my vote is aye tonight.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break, everybody. 10-minute break. We have some things. It's a lot of notice. All right, we're going to call the next 3 items together. Case P2024-0128 is a minor subdivision for 29 Van Ripen Avenue. Case P2024-0129 is a preliminary and final major site plan for 29 Van Ripen Avenue. And case P2024-0130 is a preliminary and final major site plan for 608 Pavonia Avenue.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicants with respect to all items just mentioned. We did provide notice with respect to each agenda item, and I have given them to council.
To the minor subdivision in 2529 Van Ripen, the preliminary and final major site plan at 2529 Van Ripen, and the preliminary major site plan at 608 and 612 Pavonia Avenue all appear to be in order. They're going to be marked as A1, A2, and A3 for purposes of the record.
Thank you, council.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just give a brief overview of the project, because these are really, it's a comprehensive project, and then I'm going to hand it off to my professionals. But as a background, the Namdar Group, this is the Homestead Place extension. So the Namdar Group is the developer here, and what we've done, that's right. So what they've done is they have acquired additional properties or in contract for additional properties, and then the idea here, we have the Homestead extension. Now we're going to have the Homestead Market. And the idea is to take it from Homestead Place east up to Summit Avenue, and that's going to be covered. I keep using an example of like the Chelsea market in the city, where you have retail, but it's inside. And this would be the first part of it. And you'll see we have a subdivision where we're going to carve out some lot area and give it to the lots that front Pavonia. And in between the two buildings is going to be a walkway that will be the Homestead Marketplace beginning. Future phases, and Mr. Namdar and his entity have been designated by the JCRA for these projects, but future phases bring it all the way up to Summit Avenue to complete the extension. And just kind of as a foreshadowing, those projects would be subject to the new regulations of the Journal Square redevelopment plan, so you would be seeing affordable housing as part of those plans. These projects before you are part of the time of the application rule, so they are not subject to those requirements. So I'm not going to go into the particulars of the projects, because I'll let, Raul is going to be sworn in as the licensed architect in this instance as well. But I'm going to hand it off to Joe Mealy, is our civil engineer tonight and our planner. So he'll talk about the subdivision. There's 2 variances too, real quick. The first one is the rooftop height, which under the prior zoning, we need the relief. Under the new zoning, you wouldn't need it, but this is being submitted under the prior zoning. And then the second one is for relief to not have on-site loading in the projects. And that's a direct result of our meetings with Jersey City Traffic. They believe that the streets aren't wide enough to properly have loading on site. So they asked us to take that out, and then we're going to work together on loading zones on the streets, particularly on Van Ruypen. And then you'll see as part of Van Ruypen, there's a unique provision in that we are incorporating a home into an existing home, which we cannot take down, into the overall development. So we're attaching it, and that'll be, I think, a retail component, but you'll see how that's attached, and it's kind of creative how we build over it. So with that said, I'm going to hand off to Joe Mealy.
Mr. Harrington, just for everybody's edification, obviously, we've been dealing with the homestead now for years, both in the redevelopment plan aspect of it and in the various preliminary and final applications that we've seen. So I think the board is very well aware of what's been happening in anticipation of these various projects. Obviously, the board's very well aware of needing to subdivide and realign property lines and property. So I think we can get into the real meat and potatoes of it, and I think the board can appreciate that.
Okay, understood.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
For the record, state your spelling name, please.
Joseph Mehle, Josephmele.
Mr. Melee, good evening. You're testifying as an engineer and planner tonight. Your licenses are both current?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay, I'll get right into it. There are 3 applications before you tonight, but they're all part of one overall development application. I'll start with the subdivision, and that's part of the site plan and subdivision application was submitted to the board, and it's posted on the overhead currently. It's a plan that was prepared by Gary Marmo, last revised August 15, 2024. And the subdivision is obviously located in the Homestead Market section of the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan. It covers 2 zones in the redevelopment plan, Zone 3 and Zone 4 of the Journal Square redevelopment plan. Frontages on Pavonia Avenue and also on Van Ruypen Avenue, so it carries all the way through. And of course, on the western side, it fronts Homestead Place, which is a public right-of-way that would be used for pedestrian purposes. The nature of the subdivision is basically a transfer of land from lots, part of lots 1 and 2 will be transferred to lots 14 and 16. Lots 1 and 2 lie on the northern section of this overall development, and about 1,001 square feet of land would be given to lots 14 and 16. And the reason for that is to provide the allowable area for height requirements that are needed for a development in this area when 14 and 16 is combined under the new lot, which would be 14.01. The old lots 1 and 2 would become 1.01. And then in the middle, ultimately, that area that is transferred will be dedicated as a public easement for a pedestrian plaza, but that would be covered in the site plan application. So overall, lots 1 and 2 would merge and dedicate lands which would become lot 1.01, and lots 14 and 16 would also merge after the land is provided and become 14.01. 14.01 would have a proposed lot area of 12,534 square feet. Lot 1.01 would have 15,929 square feet.
And just for the benefit of the board, the site plan application will include new lot 1.01 plus lot 3, and we will consolidate those lots prior to permitting.
Correct. So that's a good segue into the site plan application. So after, as was just said, after lot 1.01 is created, lot 3, where that historic home is located, would be merged with the new lot 1.01, and probably become 1.02. Of course, we got to coordinate the lot numbers with tax assessor's office, but we imagine that would be lot 1.02. And 1.02 would then be an additional 2,500 square feet, amounting to 18,742 square feet. Okay. You said zoom is controlled?
Sorry. Made it bigger. Sorry. Come on. Is that good enough?
1,001 square feet shaded in gray, being added to 16 and 14.
Correct, correct.
Correct.
Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3 is where the historic-ish home is, the 2.5-story frame number 17, correct?
That, the historic home is located on Lot 3.
So the reason why the subdivision doesn't include Lot 3 is because it's not affected by this land transfer. It only affects lots 1, 2, 14, and 16.
All right, so that's the subdivision.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving into then the site plan application, the first of which is 29 Van Ripen Avenue. 29 Van Ripen Avenue is actually addresses 25 through 29 Van Ripen Avenue, and that would be designated as lots 1, 2, and 3. Part of 14 and 16 are affected, even though they're reduced. Lots 1 and 2 are reduced, given to 14 and 16. It's part of the site plan application because we're affecting those lots. Okay, and that's obviously block 7904. The site occupies about a quarter of the block. It has 2 street frontages. Has street frontages on Van Ripen, obviously, and Homestead Place. Project area, that is the project area, is about 18,742 square feet, and it's in the Zone 4 of the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan. The existing site contains some residential buildings and a parking lot, and residential portions, properties lie to the east of Van Ripen. Homestead Place pedestrian walk is along the western border, and you have a new development that's recently built at 619 Bavonia that's on the other side of Homestead Place on the west of this site. So the proposed conditions in general, I'm sure the architect will get more into it, but this is a 27-story, 293-foot tall mixed-use building, and that height and number of stories is compliant with the redevelopment plan based on the bonuses and the office floors that are integrated into the plan. We have 689 residential units.
29 Van Ripen has a hotel component.
It does, yes, right. I was going to get 24 hotel units, right? And that hotel encompasses about 22,191 square feet of hotel space. And obviously the building has various private amenities, but the interesting part of this development in general is the public amenities that come with this application. And that is the Homestead Place pedestrian walkway, and was mentioned before by our land use attorney, is that pedestrian plaza that extends east and west from Homestead eventually out to Summit, but under this application it lies to the south of 29 Van Ripen along that corridor behind the building. So the two deviations for both site plan applications are the same. We have a deviation for off-street loading, where off-street loading is required and none is provided. And the floor height on the roof, on a roof structure of the building. So the maximum height of a structure on the roof of the building is currently 10 feet. We're at 15 feet. And as was stated earlier, the land development ordinance has actually been revised recently to allow 30 feet. So under the new land development ordinance, we actually comply, but this is currently submitted under the old land development ordinance.
Under, Right, yeah, understood. I think what Mr. Melee just said is testimony in support of the respective variances.
So as you can see, this development, I'm on sheet C3.01, which is our site layout plan, and we show very generous pedestrian accommodations along all streets, and obviously the public pedestrian plaza in the back, you could see with the cross-hatched area that would extend eventually out to Summit Avenue. Portions of that walkway are covered, which I think creates a nice attraction, but the majority of it, a good portion of it, is also open. The required sidewalk widths are all met, where 8 feet is required along Homestead, and we're providing more than 8 feet in some areas. And Van Ripen, the minimum is also 8 feet, and we're providing 16.5 feet at the most narrow point, and much more in other areas. The building step backs are superseded by the Homestead Place extension bonus, so there are no step back requirements, and we comply with all the building setbacks. And obviously the other bulk requirements, such as minimum lot area, are complied with, where the required is 20,000 square feet, and we're proposing for the overall development 65,690. So on Van Ripen Avenue, we have a 30-foot wide curb-to-curb width. It's a one-way going eastbound. And the proposed building along that corridor does step in and out and has utility rooms and amenities along that frontage. As I said, you have a 16.5-foot wide minimum concrete sidewalk, separate entrances for the hotel and residential lobby, new street pavement, striping, and sidewalks, obviously, along that street frontage. And we maintain that historical home on Lot 3, where the building does gradually step over that building with sufficient clearance that was coordinated with the Jersey City.
And that'll be shown during the architectural presentation.
Right. Along Homestead Place, you have 100 feet of frontage, a 26-foot wide right-of-way, and obviously that's where the focus of the retail components are for this building. It's not a vehicular type corridor, it's all pedestrian, so no driveway aprons or anything of that nature. And you have the expansion of the concrete pavers that would extend all the way up to the building frontage along that Homestead Place. And then, of course, in the back is what we were mentioning earlier, where you have the Homestead Market. That's about 170 linear feet of frontage along the back corridor. And you basically is a walking corridor to access retail that would also lie along the back corridor of the building. Also have accommodations for stormwater management in that area. We have a pretty substantial underground detention system that accommodates the 2, 10, and 100-year storms for attenuating those type of storm runoff amounts for the new and the future peak runoff rates. And it services both developments in that area. Lighting improvements, obviously we comply with all the landscaping and lighting requirements of the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance, and also we provide additional wall-mounted fixtures in that area as well. And as far as the landscaping, as noted, we have 3 street trees along Van Ripen. We will obviously comply with Jersey City forestry standards. Touching back on utilities very briefly, we have our sanitary sewer connection on Homestead, stormwater, as I mentioned, in the plaza area underground, and electric and telephone connections, all overhead utility poles and wires obviously will be removed from this area.
And just to get ahead of something, there is a utility pole right now sitting within the Homestead area. We've agreed with planning that we are going to work with PC&G, which we are in conversations now, to remove that. And some of those preliminary discussions are to put it underground, but that will be removed as part of these projects.
Okay, 612 Pavonia lies obviously on the southern portion of this development, fronting Pavonia, Homestead Place to the west, and the back obviously backs into 29 Van Ripen. This would encompass lots 14, 16, parts of lots 1 and 2, block 7904. Obviously, the lots would be consolidated, as I mentioned earlier, to lot 14.01. This development also occupies about a quarter of the block with the 2 street frontages, 12,534 square feet of area. Buildings and parking lots exist in this area. Those will obviously be removed for the new building. And this development sits on the Zone 3 of the redevelopment plan, as opposed to the northern side, which is in Zone 4. But it's all part of the Homestead Place bonus because of the accumulation of land that we qualify for the Homestead Place bonus. To the south, obviously, is the Journal Square Path Station just across the street of Pavonia. And again, 618 Pavonia is a development to the west that was recently developed on the other side of Homestead. Again, same deviations as the prior application, and that is the loading berth where none is provided, and that's based on Division of Transportation's recommendations, and also the rooftop structure where 15-foot high structure is provided on the rooftop, 10 feet is allowed, and as mentioned earlier, 30 feet is actually recognized in the new land development ordinance. Again, the sidewalks on this plan are very generous along Pavonia and obviously along Homestead and the back plaza area to accommodate this very pedestrian-friendly type development. No parking spaces in this overall development. Building step backs and setbacks are all complied with based on the redevelopment plan, and we obviously qualify the Homestead extension bonus.
Just as a quick note, both projects will be dedicating part of the private property towards the enlargement of the Homestead Place extension.
Mr. Harrington, obviously you've done a lot of planning with respect to the Homestead. I want to say that we've heard and approved 7. This is 2 more. How many?
There is one more that is coming in on the 22nd, and on between Cottage and Newark, and I think that's it. Although there's 2 more up on Summit Avenue that will be part of like the Homestead Market that I spoke to earlier. So there's 1, 2, 3, maybe more coming in.
So the Homestead Market, my recollection was that was kind of added after we started the Homestead extension.
That's right. Yeah, the Homestead extension goes from Pavonia to Newark. So And then this Homestead Market is going to go from Homestead Place east up to Summit.
We were starting with the Homestead extension, the market wasn't really.
It didn't exist. It was created after looking at this, and the Namdar group said, maybe we can get these properties and create this so that we have, almost like, those little paseos walking up and down.
The board's perspective, and obviously the commission's can speak for itself, but I think from the board perspective, everything that has come before us has fulfilled the vision of both the plan and Bug's extension. We all agree and understand with respect to, okay, we need a slight deviation for loading because of what we've all discovered with respect to loading, the issue with the structure on the roof. But planning, both planning staff as well as the planning board and the designated redeveloper pretty much laid out what this is supposed to look like, and it's coming to fruition from everything that we've seen. My question is, aesthetically, the buildings themselves, much different, pretty similar. I appreciate all of the technical aspects of the area, the engineering, the drainage, and all of that. But I think we're really at the point now where, what are we looking at aesthetically? How does it all work together? Hitting the vision. I think we are, but
Yeah, and I think that's maybe something, maybe we could move on to the architect if you'd like, and he can speak to that. I know in the overall picture, like the projects that are going to front on Summit Avenue are probably going to be taller because of the recent amendments. So you're going to have a different design there. And I think the one coming in at the next meeting is a little bit of a different design as well. But Paul could probably speak to that because he's been the architect on just about every project, except for, still 701 Newark is a different owner, but same architect, and I think just 29 Cottage is a different owner and architect.
So, any questions on engineering?
No, sir.
Anything? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Mealy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
If any of the commissioners disagree with any of my comments,
Yeah, please, speak up.
It's a great point you put up.
Okay. Yeah, so similar to my application earlier tonight, I have Raul Cabato here as our licensed architect, and then Mr. Freitas is going to testify as the project architect.
Okay, and once again, just for the record, Mr. Cabato, you've been sworn in, qualified already tonight. If you could just state that you understand that you're still under oath.
I understand I'm still under oath.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Freitas, come on up.
All right, I'll try to make this as painless as possible and get you guys home. 29 Van Ripen. It's a mixed-use building, 432 apartments with the basic densities that are required by planning. It's comprised of a number of different uses, some very similar to what we've done in the past with respect to having a first floor that's basically programmed with retail, a hotel lobby, a residential lobby, transformer vaults, and of course our semi-historic or historic building, depending on how you want to view it. As you can see here, in the massing of the project, here's our nice little house, and we've basically taken the structure and kind of stepped it back. Stepped it up as it goes up the as it rises in elevation, so that we have a final structure at the top that kind of works. It gives the house it definitely makes the building a little different than everything else on the space. With respect to your concerns about the design of these buildings that are coming up in the future, I would say that there is a cohesion to them. There are design elements that kind of reference each other. We try to make them, each and every one of them, a bit unique in the way they're massed or the way they're represented with materiality. And going forward, I would expect that to be very much the same. Here's our documentation on the building itself. I'll just zoom in on the first floor because I think that really kind of explains a lot of this building. As you'll note, we have our 17 Van Ripen building. It is part of the building, but separated with fire-rated enclosures, fire separation panels. It's independent but combined. So should anything happen to one or the other, there's a separation between the two buildings, which was something that was required by, I guess, the Historic Commission? Is that?
It was required in order to preserve the fire rating of the overall building. The
Right.
preserved home is a wood structure.
Yeah, so basically we have our transformer vaults on Van Ripen, a residential lobby, a hotel lobby, and then retail space on Homestead Place. And as you'll note, we have about a 20-foot wide corridor that extends towards, towards Summit Avenue. That's about 20 feet wide. It will also abut 612 Pavonia Avenue, which is located directly over in this area. You'll also notice that on Marketplace there's a retail space and a multi-purpose room. So we're trying to engage this new Marketplace area, kind of give it a, give it some life and give it give people another opportunity to kind of engage these corridors. Second floor is basically, second and third floors are hotel uses. There's 24 units for the hotel amenity spaces, as well as utility spaces that service the building. Same thing on the third floor. Floors 4 and 6, 4 to 27 are basically all residential apartment buildings, typical to what we've been doing in the past. And they vary from studios to studio alcoves, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom apartments. At the top of the building, we have an amenity space, which was discussed earlier, that I know we were requesting a 15-foot deviation from planning. Outside of that, that's pretty much the building. As far as 612 Pavonia goes, it's a very similar similar makeup. Outside, the only difference really being is, again, mixed-use building with a retail, residential on the first floors, and then office space on the second and third floors. Excuse me. And again, directly above us, it would be the extension, the 29 Van Ripen. Again, retail kind of abutting the space here. A residential lobby, and then an independent hotel lobby, bicycle parking, transformer vaults, and another retail space. Second floor is retail, and it's all retail. I misspoke. It's retail space on second floor. And professional offices on the third floor. Floors 4 through 27, again, become residential apartments. Building is 293 feet in height, with an amenity space at the top as well. As far as the materiality of both of these buildings, they kind of correspond with each other. There's a brick podium with aluminum storefront, aluminum and glass windows. And then on one side of the building is so here, you can basically get a better view of it. This is the Homestead Place elevations that kind of describe the kind of quality of the elevation. I wish it would update. Apologies. There we go. And here's the elevations for the Homestead Marketplace with the retail spaces fronting fronting 29 Van Ripen. Parts of it are also stucco with a water management system. It's a cementitious stucco with a water management system. And just showing the elevations for 29 Van Ripen. It's a much larger building. As you can see, we have the step backs. So you get a little change in the massing of the building. Van Ripen elevation with our lobbies and our retail. And our south elevation showing all of the retail along, along the marketplace. Excuse me. And here's just kind of a sample of what we expect the finishes to be. It's basically spandrel glass between floors, aluminum panels, and again cementitious water management system, stucco system. That's all I have.
Any questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Freitas. Just one, I'm sorry, just one question that jumps out to me on the 608 Pavonia. There's 2 stories of retail space?
On Pavonia, it's 1-story retail, 2nd floor, 3rd floor is office.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, 1st floor retail, 2nd floor retail?
Yeah, 1st floor is retail, 2nd floor is retail.
Okay.
As part, which is allowed, I guess, by planning.
Sure.
And then commercial on the 3rd floor.
Are the
Office.
retails, are they 2 separate spaces, or is it one continuous space, or is that open to
There are
discussion?
some demising walls. I mean, at this juncture, I think a lot of it's going to depend on who the developer can kind of corral into these spaces. So I think that we may end up, doing some sort of amendment or changes to the plan along the way to kind of satisfy whatever kind of marketing that they can kind of meet. I can show you. So here's the 2nd floor with the retail, electrical room, sprinklers. And then the 3rd floor, right now, we're kind of just leaving it as professional office.
Okay. The only other question I have is on 29 Van Ripen. With the historic home at 17 Van Ripen.
Yes.
Are they, so obviously they're connected, but is there passage between them?
Yes,
It's-
there
or
is
it
an
only
actual
outside?
connection. I can show, here, I can zoom in on the plan. Oops. Apologies. It's not my IT day. Am I going? Yeah, here we go. It's, was it 2nd floor? There's basically, if you'll look, you'll see a set of double doors. We basically kind of created a vestibule. Everything surrounding this building is fire rated. So there is a connection to it, but it's a fire rated enclosure. So in the event of any sort of emergency, the doors close and it becomes separated from the opposite side of the wall. We kind of, again, the developer's trying to figure out what he's going to do to program it. Right now, it's being considered as retail. It may end up becoming building management. We're still kind of trying to figure that out.
Be a nice museum.
Pardon me?
Be a nice museum.
The Pompidou.
There you go. You got to get the artwork for it first.
So obviously the codes are different. The building codes are different between 17 Van Ripen and the rest of the project, correct?
Yes, but the work we're doing on 17 Van Ripen is really more cosmetic repair, roof repairs, new coat of paint, cleaning it up, just kind of bringing it back to its glory.
But there's fire sprinklers in there or no?
No, there are no sprinklers. It's a residential home right now, so that may need,
That's
our
what I'm
engineer
saying, they're
will
being
defer to
added.
it. Yes, they'll have to be added, of course.
Okay, good. Okay, that's it. That's it for me. Anybody else? No? All right, thank you, sir. Council, that's your presentation? I
Yeah,
don't see
that
unless-
completes our presentation because I
unless
believe
Andy's
we
gonna
addressed
come
the
up and-
requested variances.
Okay, so with that being said, let's open it up for public comment. If anybody's here to comment from the public, please come on up.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you want to wrap us up here?
Certainly. I'm going to begin my comments here, just sort of working at sort of the most general issues that apply to the whole project, and then work down to the more specific, and just make sure we're clear about what's on the record and what conditions might be proposed. Staff submitted a report dated October 1st, and then later revised October 7th. There wasn't a substantive difference between the two reports, just a slight wording change on proposed conditions. But different sets of conditions are proposed for each relevant resolution here. The simplest would come down to the subdivision because it's an as-of-right application relating to our standard conditions related to complying with testimony and review agent comments. With regards to the two site plans, there are several, in addition to sort of the broader general conditions we usually require of our applicants, several specific conditions related to the specificities of the site and the proposed amenities. First being, and Mr. Harrington acknowledged the existence of above-ground utilities that both adjacent to and across the site that are not controlled by Mr. Harrington's client, but by PSE&G and other utility providers. The details of how those utilities would be removed and relocated are not present on these plans. Mr. Harrington, could you relay why they're not present on these plans?
Yes, because that's a work in progress with our discussions with PSE&G as to how to locate them and where to relocate them. So
Yes.
we are in discussions now.
Yeah, so I guess given the third-party discussions that have to take place, staff has recommended that all easements necessary be recorded about relocating utilities, and that the plans for the actual location and any conduits and the like that have to be incorporated into the plans to accommodate the utilities be present on the revised signature plans. Secondly, planning is very grateful that without being required or using it to qualify for any bonus, that the applicant is proposing to create a new public space in this in the form of the Homestead Market. Homestead Market in this case would be a what we call in the planning world a POPS, a privately owned public space. And given the fact, basically, so it is a public space in that there will be deeds of easements for access to the public, but it is private in the sense that the applicant and ongoing owner will be required for the maintenance of the space. And there are relevant conditions contained herein.
Correct.
Lastly, related to the specifics of the historic home that we've discussed, historic preservation staff submitted a memo dated October 8th detailing some small deficiencies on the plans as submitted in terms of the preservation standards of the home and the proposed restoration. Has the Mr. Harrington, have you and your professionals looked over this memo, and can you comply with the proposed revisions?
Yes, we agree to comply with those. Those are consistent with our prior meetings and discussions with your office and Ms. O'Neill.
Okay, and staff also proposes that these revisions be incorporated into revised signature plans. And then lastly, just addressing the discussion about loading zones. So the Division of Transportation in their staff report recommended an on-street loading zone in the public right-of-way. Designating a loading zone in the public right-of-way requires an active city council. Therefore, it is not something that this board can require of an applicant. That being said, city staff and the applicant have agreed to work together to hopefully make that happen. And there's just a condition in here related to should city council designate a loading zone that is part of the construction of this project, that all required infrastructure for that loading zone be accommodated in the public right away.
Yes.
With that being said, staff recommends approval with conditions for all three resolutions.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And just for the record, the board hasn't seen Historic Preservation's memo from today. As per our policy, all uploaded materials have to be in the Friday before a meeting. We do not review any material on the day of a meeting. We are not full-time city employees. We are volunteers. We cannot be expected to review any documents during a meeting when we're supposed to be paying attention. So we haven't reviewed that memo. I can't talk about what's in it. You're agreeing to it. I don't know what's in it. So that's just an aside.
Yeah, I mean, that request, the board will certainly be relayed to city staff. Happy to do that. It is my professional opinion that these conditions in the memo can be accommodated between site plan review and signature plans. If you choose to defer to my professional judgment, that is up to you.
Will have to, because again, I don't know what's in that memo. I'm not going to read it at the meeting. That is supposed to be in the portal for the public's benefit, for the applicant's benefit, and for our benefit. And we cannot continue on like this. It's not right to the applicant for us to carry this application because that wasn't in the portal, but I have no idea what's in that document. So we really should be carrying this, but that's on city staff, and I'm so tired of talking about it. I'm beyond tired of talking about it. It's got to change, and I know you're the messenger here. I apologize for taking it out on you, but it's on the record now that the applicant's agreeing to those comments, and again, I have no idea what's in them. So I'll defer to your professional opinion, but this has to stop.
That message will be conveyed to staff.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion then. And it's three separate motions.
Three separate motions, okay? Starting with
You
subdivision.
don't want to do the public first?
I did the public. Yeah, I did the public. There was nobody here.
Still nobody. Let it reflect, there's still nobody.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2024-0128.
Second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2024-0129 as it was presented to the board today.
Second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2024-0130 as it was presented to the board today.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato? Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We're going to move, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to memorialization of resolutions. I have 3 resolutions to read into the record, and then I will, that's all right, I got them. And then I will entertain a motion and a second for these resolutions. First resolution is a resolution of the City of Jersey City Planning Board, applicant Real Shelter for All LLC, for preliminary and final major site plan approval with deviations for 173 to 183 16th Street, 180 15th Street, and 619 Marin Boulevard, Jersey City, New Jersey, block number 7103. Lots 2 through 8 and 11, that case number was P2024-0085. Second is the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant Mannequin Temporary Tribeca West Urban Renewal LLC for the extension of a preliminary and final major site plan approval at 50 Day Street, Master Condominium Unit 1, also known as Tower 1, Block 7701, Lot 5, Tower 1, also known as Qualifier C0001. That case number was P2024-0142. And lastly, I have the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant Universal Global, Inc., doing business as Metro Honda, for signage approval with a C variance at 540 Route 440, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 2001, Lot 4. Case number is P2023-0020. Can I have a motion? I need a motion first. Okay, we have a motion. Did we have a second? We have a motion and a second.
On a motion to approve the memorialization of said resolutions, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz, Commissioner Stamato, Commissioner Torres, and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries. All in favor to memorialize resolutions.
Thank you. Do we need executive session? Anyone? All right. Motion for adjournment from somebody?
Motion to adjourn?
And a second?
Second.
And we are good. Thank you, guys.